We can start, sir. Thank you all.
Just Sandesh, just look at YouTube whether it is starting.
Yes, yes, sir. It's working.
Just wait for sir to join in. It's been just a minute.
Sir is
Sure,
coming
sir.
in 5 minutes.
Okay, Aswin, you can start.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible to all? Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this CSR conclave. It's been in the working for quite some time, and personally, I'm very glad to be associated with this as an alumni. And I hope, and not I hope, but I'm quite sure that this will be a rather fruitful session for all of you who are participating. It doesn't matter whether you are a CSR professional or you're aspiring to be one, or whether you're a development sector professional, whichever field you belong to, this will be a rather fulfilling session just by the kind of speakers we have lined up and what we can expect. To begin the session, I would just like to list out a few things so that for the benefit of all those who are attending, so that we are able to get the best out of the session. Firstly, I request all those who have a speaker option or a microphone option on their screens to please keep yourself muted, okay, so that there is no disturbance while someone is speaking for all the other participants. In case when we do have question answer sessions, if you do have a question, either raise your hand uh, on the software that you have, or for those attending on YouTube Live, or even on the Zoom link, you can post your question in the chat box. And for those of you who are attending this session, if you're not aware, the college is giving out participation certificates. That will happen next week. But for you to receive yours, you need to submit your feedback form, and then your participation certificate will be given to you next week. So without much ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker for today, who will introduce this conclave for us. And he is none other than Dr. Ronald Yeshudas. Um, for those of you who know him, Dr. Ronald has received his MA and PhD degrees from Tata Institute of Social Sciences and currently works in the College of Social Work, Nirmala Niketan. Along with being a social work educator, he is a social sector consultant who integrates person-centered, strength-based, and evidence-driven approaches in designing social interventions. Dr. Ronald has 30 publications to his credit in themes such as social work practice with marginalized groups, teaching learning in higher education, and management of non-profit and social enterprise organizations. He is the editorial board member of Perspectives in Social Work of the College of Social Work at Nirmala Niketan, and a peer reviewer in reputed journals such as the Indian Journal of Social Work, OFTIS, Development in Practice, Taylor and Francis Group, and Voluntary Sector Review, Policy Press Group. In addition, Dr. Ronald is an e-content developer for EPG Pathshala project of the Ministry of Education of Government of India and standardized test content specialist for Tata Consultancy Services. He has extensive experience in project design, implementation, and evaluation. So you see, friends, we are starting off with somebody who's so distinguished in their career. I would like all of you all to please welcome Dr. Ronald to address us. Over to you, Dr. Ronald.
Thank you, Osvin, for the wonderful introduction. Respected Honorable Dr. Prashant, Sir, Commissioner, Social Welfare, Government of Maharashtra, Namaskar. Sir, our keynote speaker and chief guest. We have Dr. Lidwin Dias, Principal, College of Social Work. Namaskar, ma'am. We have Alex, Priya, Dr. Meena, Dr. Mahesh, who are all our respected speakers for today's conclave. Advisory committee members, Mr. Elvis Thomas, Mr. Joy Abraham, Ms. Amrit Roy, PGD, CSR students, alums, CDC members, IQAC members, faculty members, and stakeholders. Namaskar, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to this conclave. College of Social Work initiated the PG Diploma in CSR in 2017 under the visionary leadership of Dr. Lidwin Dias, Principal. She spearheaded the development of the curriculum and brought in top experts from the field to provide quality education for our PG Diploma in CSR students. Currently, our fifth batch students are pursuing the program of studies. I wish to take this golden opportunity to highlight some of the salient features of this program. The PG Diploma in CSR is one of the very few programs in India. Hardly we have 20 such institutes offering the same in India. Dr. Meena, Dr. Mahesh, who are part of this conclave, are some of the pioneers in the field. So this is one of the unique programs in India. Secondly, we have very interesting core papers on principles of management, CSR theory, business law, and ecological economics, along with choice-based electives, which the students can choose either on WASH, social audit, EIA, SIA, urban and rural development, education and skill development, so that they can get sectoral experience. All the students also undergo skill courses on project management and research methods, which enhances their capacity to undertake large scale uh, implementation of projects as well as evaluation of the same. Students who excel in studies are also given the option of a research project, and they can take the research track in this field. The program is designed in the outcome-based education manner, which helps in transference of skills from the faculty members who deliver this program to the students. We have some of the top faculty members from academia and industry. Some of them are even from abroad. So this is a little bit about the program. Now about the conclave. The current students and alums of the CSR program of College of Social Work organize a conclave on a biennial basis as a co-curricular event which helps in strengthening the industry-academia interface. This conclave brings the best of the industry leaders, leading academicians, policymakers, social sector professionals, and other stakeholders to discuss pertinent issues with respect to CSR. This year, we will be exploring the topic CSR and sustainable development. There is increasing awareness today that CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, with a growing concern about environmental issues. CSR is recognized when corporations show continuous commitment to meet the expectation of stakeholders and achieve balance between social integrity, economic prosperity, and environmental responsibilities in an ethical and responsible manner. So the goal of CSR is to voluntarily incorporate economic, social, and environmental responsibilities into business operations to build sustainable growth of business and show positive impact to the environment, employees, customers, shareholders, and communities. In short, development is sustainable when current and future generations' needs are fulfilled with the available resources. CSR is mainly focused on three key pillars of sustainability, namely economy, which is the profit angle, social, which is the people angle, and environment, which is the planet angle, which we call it as the triple bottom line. There are two approaches to CSR. One is a business in society approach. The second one is a strategic approach. The former is aimed at giving back to society by organizing social welfare, and the latter requires organization to communicate CSR efforts to stakeholders to satisfy their needs. Sustainability involves also satisfying customers' needs and achieving organizational goals without compromising CSR mandated activities. Hence, the combination of CSR and sustainable development is important towards creating sustainable and socially responsible business. We hope that the deliberation from this conclave, through the expert facilitation of keynote speaker, eminent panelist, panel moderator, and the valedictory speaker, will help not only students but also seasoned professionals meet the challenges facing CSR today. Thank you, and anticipating a wonderful conclave experience for one and all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ronald, for your kind words and shedding light on this whole conclave for us. I would now like to invite our next distinguished speaker, who is none other than Dr. Ludwin Dias, who is the principal of the College of Social Work, Nirmala Niketan. Dr. Ludwin Dias received her MSW and PhD degrees from Mumbai University. And besides being the principal of the College of Social Work at Nirmala Niketan, she is also the director of the research unit of the institution. She provides research guidance for students of MSW and PhD, among others. She has several publications to her credit, which includes the Research Journal of Social Sciences, and she has even co-authored the book Methodologies in Social Research. Dr. Ludwin Dias is an award-winning personality, and she has been the executive member of the Bombay Association of Trained Social Workers. And currently, she is the board member of the Xavier Board of Higher Education Catholic Institute, Western Region. And she's also a member of the National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development, New Delhi, the Maharashtra Women and Child Welfare Committee. She's also a member of the Board of Studies in Social Work, University of Mumbai, and a member of the board examination for University of Mumbai. So we are grateful for your presence, ma'am. We invite you to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you, Oswin. Respected Honorable Dr. Prashant Narnavre, Sir, Commissioner, Social Welfare Department, the keynote speaker of today and also the chief guest, Ms. Nilima Rodriguez, Associate Director of Extension Center and convener, Dr. Ronald Eshwadas, Faculty in charge and convener of the conference, the advisory committee members, Mr. Elvis Thomas, Mr. Joy Abraham, Ms. Amrit Rai, all the distinguished speakers of today's conclave, the student committee members, the college development committee members, the IQAC members, the faculty members, and all my dear participants. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to each one of you from the College of Social Work, Autonomous Nirmala Niketan, for this conclave on corporate social responsibility and sustainable development. College of Social Work, through the academic programs in social work, both regulars such as BSW, MSW, and PhD, and the short-term value-added courses and field action projects since 1955, has persevered to fulfill its vision to contribute in building a just and humane society for all, with a preferential option to work with vulnerable and marginalized groups in society towards their development and empowerment. In 2017, as per the request and need of the time, College of Social Work has initiated the PG Diploma in CSR course for young graduates, CSR and HR managers, social workers, government officials, and other interested candidates in view of the recent trends in CSR. The feedback given by the students has helped us to review the course syllabus on an ongoing process to know what kind of expertise industries expect from our PG Diploma CSR graduates. Do we actually fill the gap with respect to what is needed in CSR? Does our curriculum address these gaps, and what kind of skills, knowledge, and attitudes are required? We also realize that a lot of CSR departments are now talking about sustainability. The new concepts of sustainability for business or business sustainability are emerging. So what would be the future roles? Does corporate sector focus on mandated CSR provisions? Or is there a broader role which we can expect? Is there a possibility of CSR professionals scaling up as sustainability practitioners in terms of bringing in the whole knowledge of environment and sustainable development into the CSR domain? In this context, today's conclave has been planned with an objective to bring various stakeholders, namely government officials, policymakers, industrialists, civil society leaders, and academicians to discuss and understand the most recent global developments in CSR and sustainable development. It is organized with a view to provide a common platform to corporates, government agencies, NGOs, and civil societies, academics, and other stakeholders to share their expectations aspirations, and responsibilities to address the challenges faced with the goal to catalyze sustainable growth by creating an enabling environment for the corporate sector to work in partnership with the government and with community-based organizations in the field of corporate social responsibility. The deliberations from this conclave should direct us to strive to come together and address the challenges faced in corporate sector and note what kind of roles does the social workers and our post PG diploma CSR students can play at executive level in conceptualizing and implementing certain policies. Also to explore and facilitate dialogue on how to create partnership between industry, academia, civil society, and government. I wish the organizers best wishes and a way forward so that this conclave does not remain at intellectual sharing, but come up with a concrete action plan to implement and work in partnership. I would like to thank in a very special way Honorable Dr. Prashant Sir, Commissioner of Social Welfare Department, for taking time and being present with us to share his views and participate in this conclave. Thank you, sir, and thank you, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts on this conclave and what we can expect. Just once more to all who have joined a little late, I would request you all to please keep your microphone on mute unless you'll need to speak during a question and answer session. That would benefit all those who are participating in this conclave. So as you'll have heard now, the conclave is broken into another 3 parts, okay? And I'll have 3 other colleagues of mine, moderating all these 3 parts. But what you'll can look forward to is, firstly, as ma'am just spoke, is what is the government's role in making the development more sustainable in India? Sustainable development in India. So the government is a very active participant in this area, and what can we look forward to? We have somebody very eminent to give us the perspective there. Followed by that, we will have something around CSR partnerships. It's a very important area. It doesn't matter whether you're with the social sector or you're working for a corporate. There are 2 perspectives to this. In addition, in the CSR space, to make development more sustainable, how do you partner with government and local community to make programs more sustainable? And the last part, we will also have to, since 2013, CSR has become mandatory in India. But CSR is also evolving with the government's involvement and government bringing new and new amendments each time. So we are also going to look at how we can go beyond the mandatory CSR perspective and what's the perspective around this globally, a global perspective for this. And so that, society can benefit in the best way possible. So I would like to hand over to Sakshi for moderating the next session.
Thank you, Osman. I'll just quickly introduce the theme, which is government's role in promoting CSR-led sustainable development in India. As Osman mentioned, and as you all must be aware, India is the first country in the world to make corporate social responsibility mandatory. And in today's time, government's role is crucial to the growth and development of CSR. So when the pandemic broke out, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs was very quick to react and declare that expenditure undertaken by companies to fight the pandemic will be considered valid under CSR activities. This helped mobilize funds from corporates into various activities related to COVID-19, such as promotion of healthcare, including preventive healthcare, sanitation, and disaster management. The government, through its public-private partnership, has been able to optimize economic growth as well. Through this, the government gets a much-needed infusion of capital and skilled human resources for new initiatives. And the private sector gets necessary governmental backing and hence credibility to be a part of developmental programs. Some examples of successful PPPs in India include adoption of public healthcare facilities by corporations, the Malaria Control Society in Gujarat hiring private agencies for information dissemination, the government of Orissa allowing an NGO to run some of its primary healthcare centers, and the government of India engaging private practitioners to run the tuberculosis control program at 14 sites across the country. In addition to this, the government also provides vital information to the private sectors through initiatives, including websites that inform companies of CSR and its role in business and society. Reports on CSR as well as government-sponsored guidelines aid businesses in addressing individual concerns that may be prevalent within their industry. The government is also involved in standard setting through the provision of policy frameworks which encourage companies to improve their performance beyond the minimum legal standards. And now, with great pleasure, I invite Honorable Respected Dr. Prashant Narnavre, an IS officer. He is currently the Commissioner of Social Welfare Board, Pune. He was previously posted as the Joint Managing Director of City and Industrial Development Corporation, Navi Mumbai. Dr. Prashant has a strong inclination for social work and also an equally strong interest for research and teaching. This interest has associated him with some nationally and internationally reputed institutes like Tata Institute of Social Sciences, where he is also the adjunct professor, Bath University, London, and Roskilde University, Denmark. Dr. Prashant is known for bringing in administrative innovation in health, agriculture, and tribal sector of Palghar district in Maharashtra. He has also worked as a member of Maharashtra's Trade Reform Committee, Expenditure Monitoring Committee for Local Body Elections, and Course Advisory Committee for Module on Water Conservation, constituted by Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. He has received various awards like Yashwant Panchayat Raj Award, Mahatma Phule Jal Bhumi Award, Beti Bachao Award, and Best Collector Award for his contributions. Now let's directly hear from him and what he has to say. Over to you, Dr. Agriculture and tribal sector of Palghar district in Maharashtra.
Good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed a matter of great pleasure and privilege to be amongst you all and such distinguished gathering. Respected Dr. Ludwin Dias, Dr. Ronald, Dr. Nilima, Mr. Oswin D'Souza, Mrs. Sakshi Talwar, Mr. Kaushik Kulgutwar, Mr. Amit Deshmukh, Mr. Ajay Damodar, all the distinguished speakers who are present here, faculty members, dear students and participants. Today's topic is indeed stimulating new discussion. And I hope that today's conference will give new perspective to all the people who are working in social work area. Friends, we all know that the purpose of all human organizations have always been to maximize the public good, whether it is a government, whether the social organizations, religious organizations, or even the corporate sector. Any organization which has humans and human interaction with them, the basic objective have always been and should be indeed the benefit of all the stakeholders, not only who are participating in that entire process, but also who are providing the ecosystem. Some people may ask that organizations which are profit-oriented, especially in the world of liberalization and globalization, why there is a need for corporate sector coming in and pitching for the welfare of those people who may not be the taxpayers or who may not be part of their market circle. But it is indeed important in a way, and especially in the globalized and liberalized world, to see to it that a proper ecosystem is built around the corporate sector as well. We know that for proper functioning of corporate sector, we require ecosystem. For example, if Google, Microsoft, and all software agencies have to grow, then an ecosystem of users are required who know at least how to operate a cell phone or access the internet. Without that knowledge, I feel no company who is working on internet or working online can operate. And therefore, I must say that when Google, Microsoft, all these people involved in CSR activities, not only they are doing benefit for the weaker sections, but also in a way, they are benefiting themselves or their companies in future, or the particular sector who are going to be their market in future. So corporate social responsibility is not just about charity. It is also about growth of human civilization and reciprocity. And therefore, it is very much important that big organizations who earn profit must invest those profits in the welfare sector, so as that once this profit is given and shared with people, people themselves expand the market and they give back this kind of investment to the organizations in multiple terms. So this is what I believe, that apart from charity, apart from human benefit and the public good, there is also an economic angle to CSR, and this economic angle to CSR must therefore be emphasized to all such people who believe that CSR is just a charitable activity. And friends, I must say, it is not so. Charity ultimately, as in any part of religion, it says that whatever you give, it comes back. And therefore, there is so much of importance given to charity. And is in all religions, in Hinduism among many Paurusharthas, charity or dana is one of the Purushartha. Same is in the Jainism, Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. All religions, they talk about giving excess things and sharing excess things to people around. And that creates an atmosphere of understanding, of common sharing, and that intent of welfare enhances brotherhood. And wherever the brotherhood and fraternity comes, we know organizations grow because people develop equity in those organizations. A very simple thing, when I visited London first time, so many years back, after getting down from the Heathrow airport, the first thing we saw is a train, a private train, which takes us from Heathrow to outside railway stations, and that train is run by Tatas. So when I saw the name of Tata, it was a sense of pride that we developed. So we do not have, I do not have shares in Tata, but just because Tata belonged to India, and also Tata is involved in so many social activities, that kind of connect take place. And this connect definitely, friends, is equally important than the economic connect. When we see the role of government definitely is important. As it is mentioned by earlier speaker as well, that the Company Act of 2013 have provided several provisions of corporate social responsibility. I must say that this amendment in corporate social responsibility of 2013 amendment, and also the amendment of 2021 in the sectors of corporate social responsibility, are just emphasis on what our people were always been doing. In 1946, much before, just a year before our independence, there was a corporate conclave in Mumbai, and that corporate conclave talked about corporate social responsibility in much different way. The word was not corporate social responsibility, but how corporates can come together for the development of new India if in any case India get independent. So the role of corporate sector, especially Birlas and all other people, even Tatas who came up with heavy industries at the time when it was very difficult for any Indian entrepreneur to come in. These people, Indian entrepreneurs, have contributed a lot in the struggle for Indian independence as well. So that is why corporate sector have always been a very good partner in the development of India, right from the beginning and even after our independence, even before the independence and after independence, I must say. When we talk about the skills which are required for the student of social work, so that the student of social work act as an intervener and facilitator in the corporate social, the entire business of corporate social responsibility, I must say that there are certain skills with the student requires. The first and foremost skill that a student is required, and I feel that organizations, especially the social work colleges, need to understand, and might be that they have incorporated in their syllabus of CSR, is the identification of social problems. Now, we know that society is facing several problems, and there are people who are inclined to solve one problem and another. So whoever is inclined in solving problem of a particular sector of society, so identification of problem is the first aspect. Planning of projects, that is the second aspect. Thereafter, he must understand identification of stakeholders. Which are the stakeholders? Different stakeholders, how to identify them. Chalking out the financial requirement and the component for entire project. You have to chalk out that if you start a project, how long that project is going to continue, and what would be probable outcome of the project. So probable outcome of the project need to be designed right in the beginning. And it is not like that a funding agency will continue to fund and then there is no responsibility on the particular individual or CSR partner to tell them. So we have to see that the components of financial requirements should be properly looked into, outcome should be properly designed, and there would be a kind of a system which will allow the midterm review and a proper reporting system. So this should be inbuilt in the kind of the planning of a project report. After doing these things, the next step is identification of funding agency. So the funding agency need to be identified, and once funding agency is identified, we need to present to the funding agency. So there are different ways of presenting. We use different presentation skills, the profile of the individual who are working, so on and so forth. So the funding agency should be presented with, funding agency should be convinced, and then starts the implementation. The implementation plan should be properly chalked out. Implementation at each stage should be broken down, and outcome analysis of each component should be such that it should reflect the total outcome of a particular project. Documentation is another part. There are many of us who may be excellent executors, but we may not be very good at documentation. and analytical skills. So we need to have people in our team who must be very good at documentation. Maybe multimedia could be used, the traditional approach of writing papers, booklets, publishing booklets, so many, so on and so forth. Documentation is something which is another important component while executing the CSR project. The next component of CSR project is impact analysis. Writing impact analysis and conducting longitudinal or cross-sectional study as per the project. So if we do not conduct cross-sectional or longitudinal study, and we do not come out with the impact analysis next to carry out our next project, nobody is going to fund us, and maybe that our fund may get stopped in between if we do not provide the funding agency a proper analysis regarding the outcome and the longitudinal study and how the particular section of society is going to get benefited. The last stage is presentation of the impact to the funding agency, and then comes the exit protocol. So as we began, for example, if the project runs for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, whatever, but the project, we should have an exit protocol out of the project. So once we go inside the project, we must come out of that and we must start another project afresh. So such kind of modules of development that we create, and then handing it over, the entire project should be handed over, handed over to the stakeholders. And then stakeholders in their particular period should be made capable enough so that they run that particular project on their own. And if we do that, only then as a social worker, we would be considering ourselves as a successful social worker. Otherwise, than in one particular project, we end up the entire lifespan of ours. And then in spite of that, even we are the initiator. So we become the initiator and we only become the exit protocol. Only our death exited us from the project. Then in such kind of thing happens, then maybe that particular kind of project will end up with your term of life, or may end up till you are taking interest in that. And definitely a project should not be designed in such a way that it should be individual oriented, but projects, CSR projects which need to be designed, should be designed in such a way that those projects should be community oriented. I'll give you a few examples which we did. When I was a collector of Osmanabad, I saw and identify a problem of farmer suicide. Tata Institute of Social Science, Tulzapur, their professors also were of great help to me. We designed a program called as Krishi Kranti, and under that project, in 3 years span, what we did was we gathered 2,88,000 farmers. We formed 14,600 farmer groups and 58 farmer producer companies. The first company which we formed, called as VRD Agro Private Limited, that was a seed company. The chairman of that first seed company is now the MLA from Osmanabad, Mr. Kailash Patel. And the another person who succeeded him formed Osmanabad District Seed Federation. He brought together 30 farmer producer companies of Osmanabad, Latur and Solapur to form this seed cooperative. So even after my exit, they are working. In Palghar district, where I was a collector again, we could initiate certain kind of CSR projects with the help of Power Grid Corporation and Tata Motors, and also Mrs. Anita Dongre, which is a famous fashion designer. I shall narrate you that how with Anita Dongre we started in tribal department. We have a scheme wherein we give sewing machines to the tribal women for the self-employment. So many times it was seen that a sewing machine was given to the tribal women. They used to sell the sewing machine off and get some money so that they utilize it for their household purposes. Now, when I became the collector, my other subordinates and the project officer were very kind to tell me that, sir, this scheme must end and we should start something else instead. But I told them, let us start afresh. In Jawahar Nagar Palika, there was a hall, And then I told the chief officer of Zawar Nagar Parishad that that hall should be transferred to the tribal department. We talked to Mrs. Anita Dongre, which is who is a famous fashion designer, and Mrs. Anita Dongre, with the help of Anita Dongre Foundation, again a CSR initiative, and certain machines were given by Power Grid. What we did was certain funds by tribal department, some funds by Power Grid Corporation, and Anita Dongre Foundation, who involved in teaching teaching to them. They taught teaching to the women, and around 50 women were trained for 2 months. And after that, the workshop, and we have selected machines in such way that Anita Dongre told us that these kind of machines, sewing machines, are required. So according to her specifications, we buy the machine. We put that machine in a factory form in that particular hall. And then we told them, each lady, we told that this machine belonged to you. So the 50 women, 50 machines, community corporate, owned by women. And then we said that a woman should sign an agreement with Anita Dongre Foundation. So this women signed an agreement with them. And then Anita Dongre decided that per piece rate base, they will give money to the women. So women have to come, they work, they go home at the end of the month, whatever they work, they get paid out of it. Women don't have to go anywhere. So these are the kind of initiatives that happen. The second initiative, which I would like to narrate, and then I will stop, is about our Godhadi project. Now, Godhadi is a house-made quilt. Especially, it was made during our time of grandmothers, when, you know, our domestic cloth, the shirts and saris, whichever used to get old, what grandmother used to do, she used to stitch those old saris into a small quilt, and then the entire family used to use that. So what we did was, this is a old age practice in Maharashtra. So and that is a perfect recycling, I must say, of the cloth. So what we did, we purchased certain kind of cut pieces from Bhivandi and the Boisar area, the textile people or fabric industry people. So we purchased cut pieces. We gave it to Anganwadi Sevika, and mothers of those children who are Sam or Ma'am, who are severely malnourished, they were trained to stitch that kind of quilt or Godhadi, handmade quilt or Godhadi. So once they used to prepare that, they have to come to Anganwadi. After coming to Anganwadi, they will give food to their children also, so that in front of the lady, the child is fed. She will prepare a quilt and we will purchase the quilt. The government used to purchase the quilt. So whatever quilt is made by them, we will supply them raw material. We'll also purchase the furnished good, and such quilts that are purchased by us are then given to tribal women who had institutional delivery in PSC. So that increased institutional delivery of PSC, that reduced our malnutrition because children were fed in front of the women, and also hypothermia and other reasons of child mortality was, brought the child mortality down. At the same time, we gave employment to those most needy women. So when I was there, it so happened that some of the women have, in their over enthusiasm, they produce more quilt than required. So just to earn more money. So that so happened. And when they produce more quilt, they thought that it is not very economic to sell it to government. Let me try for something else. So, in Vada, there is one ISKCON temple. So in that ISKCON temple, foreigners from outside country also come and stay there. So these women went to those foreigners, they presented their quilt to them, and they said, see, such a beautiful quilt we prepared and you purchase it. Though foreigner people, they liked the quilt so much that not only they purchased, but once they went to their own home countries in Europe, they ordered the things online. They roped in the head of that ISKCON temple, and then they said that you arrange, we will give money to you and you arrange this quilt, and then this quilt can be transferred to them. So such kind of innovative businesses by themselves, women are coming out. And when I was collector, each year I allotted 1 crore rupees for purchase of those quilt. So for 2 years, 2.5 years I was there, and 2 years, 2 crore rupees I have given just for purchase of quilt. And this initiative was later on replicated by government of Maharashtra in other tribal districts of Maharashtra. So I must say that government, private sector, through CSR, and NGOs and professionals like what you train, if we all come up with our own strengths, society is bound to change. And our ultimate objective is to make people stand on their own feet. Such people who will stand on their own feet will create their own market. They will be part of the market. No longer it will be required to do social service for them. No longer charity will be required to do for them. And I feel that will be the ultimate objective of social work, that no social work will ever be required to be done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. There were such inspiring stories. May we have more people like you. So I'm opening the floor to Q&As. Anybody who has any questions can ask or type in the chat box. Sir, we already have a question from Sahir Banu. She's saying, how can we connect the government department with CSR activities for the betterment of the marginalized communities? Is there any risk factors which can happen while connecting with the corporate world?
First and most important is that, yes, you can connect with the government. And as I explained in my speech, that we need to come up with a social project. So first, we need to identify particular area and particular set of people with whom we want to work. For example, there are certain people, even from Tata Institute of Science, and even certain alumni from Nirmala Niketan. So certain alumni from Nirmala Niketan also were there in Talasari Taluka. I feel Lidwin madam knows them. So those people are also working. So what they did was, they identified particular geographic area, and they identified particular section of society for whom they want to work. And once that is identified, we need to prepare a kind of a small project, that what are the interventions required to be done. And for those interventions, what are the funding which is probably will be required. I must say, out of that thing, certain funding can surely be provided by government. For example, like skill development, government do have a fund for skill development. Certain schemes, for example, if they are women, then women and child department have certain schemes for women. So they are scheduled caste. Then there is a social justice department who look after them. They are OBCs. Then there is Bahujan Kalyan department who look after them. If there are tribals, then tribal department which looks after them. If we have to go for differently able people, work for differently able people, there is a department of social justice who look after them. So we have parallel welfare agencies in government also. So we can approach them with their project. So certain component will be funded by the government, and whichever product which is not funded by the government can then be asked to the corporate sector so that they can pitch in. So I feel in this way, we can converge the efforts of NGOs, government, and corporate sector. And by converging the efforts, then definitely, we can start our project at that particular point in time. And once we create it as a kind of a lab, then that particular lab or social innovative lab can then be replicated in the other areas also. And from one particular work, several different branches could come up. So this is a way we need to go about.
Thank you, sir. Shahir Banu Sheikh, I hope that answers your question. Anybody else who has any questions on either YouTube or here, please either you can type it out or you can just ask. In the meantime, sir, I have a question. While I was just researching to introduce this subject, I came across this one fact that most corporates are investing more in education as part of their CSR, and the fields like sports or armed forces, they don't get as much monetary support. So what can be done so that, because I myself work in Kota, can they believe heavily in education? But that is also because if everybody just does one thing, what happens to the other parts? So, sir, what can be done to maybe educate them or get them to fund different sectors and not just education?
You're absolutely right. There are a lot of agencies who really want to do work into the sector of education. When I came across people who showed their preference for the educational projects rather than India projects, but I must say that sports is an essential component of education. So unless we go for comprehensive understanding of education, we cannot educate our child fully. Reading and writing books and getting a person literate or educated is one process, but in that particular process we really want that the children should be the development of the children should be all round, and only then we can get good and fulfilling citizens. If that is so, I must say that certain kind of schools, maybe tribal schools or social welfare schools or Jilla Parishad schools can be taken up, and then those particular schools can be converted into a kind of a sports zone, so that and then the sport should be identified. For example, if you identify kabaddi, if you identify hockey, you may identify cricket or whatever, and then we should have kind of a trainer, an engaged trainer, who will put them to a level where if they are involved in kabaddi, then we should have in next 5 years or 3 years, you should commit that we can have at least 2 or 3 people who will go in pro kabaddi. So that is a kind of a output. And when that kind of output come in, and because corporate sector also want the certain media publicity, that is very natural. So when they know that out of this kind of experience, sports or something, if they are going to get certain kind of media exposure and their work is going to get recognized, I feel surely. I must say, in the beginning, only cricket was the thing where the sponsors used to give the most. But nowadays, the archery and all other sectors have got other different sports got open because of our performance in Olympic and the other countries. So if we do so, that really happens. I will give you one example of a tribal department in Andhra Pradesh, and then we replicate it in Maharashtra. That mountaineering. The mountaineering is something which very, very rare. So certain children of tribal hostels of Andhra Pradesh that was initially started Andhra. So what the commissioner there did, he took some of the good students who can be developed into the mountaineering, and then they were sent to Dehradun, the Indian Mountaineering Institute, and they stayed there for 6 months, and then they studied mountaineering, and one of them, a girl, climbed Everest. And when that happened, when I was there, we started the same thing in Maharashtra. Why not then? So one success in sports promote all other things, all corporates to, put their money in. So that is why the steps which I have enumerated during my discussion, that a CSR person should be very good at all those particular steps that I have mentioned. And if they are very good at all that particular thing, I feel getting fund would not be that difficult.
Yes, sir. It just makes us also feel that small initiatives also can go a very long way.
Yeah.
Okay, so sir, we have a few more questions. Shankar has asked if, not Shankar, Clara has asked, Clara Gonzalez, if the post-pandemic period, can you please give us concrete platform where we can arrange the think tank to exchange such ideas and come up with need-based projects?
Definitely we can do so, and that is a wonderful question. We can create, I feel Lidwin madam can take initiative, and we can help Lidwin madam for that. We are thinking of certain kind of center of excellence, and I feel in that particular thing we can have we can create an online platform, and whatever money is required for online platform, from government I can provide. Money is not an issue. So we can create an online platform, and all those people who want to work in that particular CSR initiative, we can provide them platform. We can provide them in that particular platform. We will have government agencies, we'll have NGOs and the professionals like those who want to involve in CSR activities, and also the donors. So all those people can be connected together. That can be very well done. I feel if Lidwin madam take initiatives, we can provide all kind of funds and whatever required for that, online creation of that online system. And once that online system is created, we can meet them, you can meet your funders and the officers offline and can take up the projects. And also it will be a platform to share experiences with each other, to boost each other, to help each other. I feel that would be a great initiative. I'm really thankful to Clara for asking this question and making this thing.
I hope, Clara, that answers your question. And yeah, she's thanked you as well. Akshay has asked a question, sir, that in the skill development and livelihood theme, where can NGOs approach the government and CSR companies for funding?
Yeah, for skill development, I must say there is a skill development department, and in Mumbai, a Fort area, the commissioner skill development sits there. So all the social work colleges, I have also told in one of my initial interactions with the social work colleges that they should take up projects of skill development. They can utilize their infrastructure for opening the skill development institutions. We call them as VTPs. So for training in every individual, once you get the VTP sanction, then behind every individual we get money for the skill development, for skilling that particular this thing. So even the government funding we can get. So regarding skill development, I feel no need for going to CSR activities, because for incubation activities, I feel you can take CSR. After training, whatever has to be done, you can take CSR for that. And for training things, I feel that government department you can pitch into the government department, and government department can also provide you funds for training students. But for that, you need to register as a VTP first. So that thing is already there in the website of skill development department. If you go and see the website, it will be very clear to you. And if it is not clear, I feel Nirmala Niketan is one good place where you can find me, so that I can also help you out.
All right, thank you, Akshay. I hope that answers your question. And if there are no more questions, sir, I just want to share a comment with Jayashree Bala Subramanian from the audience has said. She said that in addition to all of this, financial literacy in schools should be supported as part of the CSR initiatives.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, that's
That
something
can be done.
we all agree on. Great. So thank you, sir, so much for your time. If nobody has any questions, sir, thank you for sharing such valuable insights. It really makes us feel that there is scope to a lot of things. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll now hand over to Kaushik. Kaushik, please take it ahead from here for the next segment.
Thank you, Sakshi. Am I audible?
That we would like to thank Commissioner Sir for his time, and thank you so much, sir, for providing your expert opinion and support. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kaushik.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you, sir, for your enlightening session. And moving. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible and visible.
Yeah. So moving on to next segment. Here in the next segment, we'll be talking about CSR partnerships. To give a brief introduction to the topic, CSR now has come a long way, where many of the companies have started to look at it as a creative opportunity to fundamentally strengthen their businesses while contributing to society at the same time. But the big challenge was how to develop an approach that can truly deliver on these lofty ambitions. And one of the ways is through CSR partnerships, which can be a way to create value for both the businesses and society simultaneously. To fulfill the CSR goals much more efficiently and effectively, organizations and businesses alike have realized that partnering with others is the only sure way of achieving this. This has proven true because the formation of partnerships has played a very significant role in CSR. Such partnerships bring businesses, people, and organizations together and then pool their resources together in order to achieve the set goals. CSR partnerships focuses on key areas of impact between businesses and society and develops creative solutions that draw on the complementary capabilities of both to address the major challenges that affect each of the partners. For society, the focus also shifts from maintaining minimum standards or seeking funding to improve employment, the overall quality of life, and living standards. So the key is for each party to tap into the resources and expertise of the other, finding creative solutions to critical social and business challenges. In CSR partnerships, mutual benefit is not only a reasonable objective, but as we talk about sustainability, it is the most required one. It is required to ensure long-term success of any initiative or the project. But this commitment must be grounded in value creation potential, just like any other strategic initiative. So this, as also our honorable chief guest said, that partnership between such institutions, organizations among the ecosystem in the CSR will lead to an incremental and a positive change in the society. This session is moderated by Ms. Amrit Rai. I would like to introduce her. As the Business Development Director, India of Pyrex Global, Ms. Amrit Rai works to build robust and meaningful partnerships across different sectors to leverage corporate social change in a dynamic Indian market via unique and innovative solutions. Prior to joining Pyrex Global, Ms. Amrit spent 25 years across different media platforms spanning television, print, and digital mediums. Her last two assignments were as the LA India publisher and business head Bloomberg Television India. She is a bachelor in commerce and economics from Sydenham College, Mumbai, and has completed postgraduate studies in social work from Nirmala Niketan. She has done CSR course from Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. She also holds an executive master's in business administration with a specialization in marketing from ITM Institute, Mumbai. I welcome you, ma'am, and I would like to hand over to Amrit Rai, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and I hope I'm audible. Okay, so you've heard from so many distinguished speakers. Professor Dr. Ronald started the session today by speaking about triple bottom line. Dr. Lidwin Dye spoke about how important it is for all stakeholders, from government to industry to civil society, to join hands and co-create a meaningful change that society urgently needs. Also, we have three distinguished panelists today. Before I introduce them, I'll just give you a short little introduction as to what is happening in the world today based on an online insight published by the Harvard Business School. They have found out that 77% of consumers are motivated to spend more on products and services if the organization is involved in CSR activity. 90% of today's employees say that they believe that a business should not only benefit the economic growth of shareholders, but also the benefit of all stakeholders, especially civil society, planet, and people. 90% of companies in today's context publish a CSR report. Just a decade ago, only 20% of companies were publishing CSR reports and speaking about partnerships and what they were doing. In fact, today, 68% of CSR professionals recognize that they need to adapt their CSR spends and focus on what is really affecting civil society and the society at large is post the pandemic. The carnage of the pandemic has added 230 million Indians further to the poverty line, below the poverty line, and 194 million people go to sleep hungry every single day. Having said that, I take this opportunity to start the session where we will speak about how partnerships can bring about the meaningful change that we desire in today's CSR context. I will introduce the panelists as they speak. And today, the first panelist to speak is Dr. Meena Galeria. Meena Galeria is an alumna of TIS, and she is one of India's most celebrated academicians. I've had the honor of her being my professor when I was doing my CSR post-graduation certificate. And Dr. Meena Galeria is currently the director of Jasani Center for Sustainability Management and Social Entrepreneurship and the chairperson, Social Entrepreneurship of NMIMS, PTMBA, and SMB. Of course, she has many accomplishments in her name. And just to mention just a few, she has the college that she as a leader has received the Golden Peacock Award for Social Innovation in 2008, the Best Professor Business Strategy in Asia from the Asia CMO Council in 2010, and the Bharat Jyoti Award for her contribution to social entrepreneurship and practice in 2012. So welcome, Dr. Meena. It is with great pride and honor that I welcome you to today's session. Over to you.
Thank you, Amrit. I was really delighted to see your name yesterday as you would be moderating. And thank you for your kind words. I don't think I'm a celebrity person or anything. I only share, okay? I just connect. And I think my job as a teacher is very safe. I just have to scare people, okay, what they should do and what they should not do. Okay, I'll just share my presentation. I'm going to be very critical about certain things, so please pardon me for that, because CSR is like a hot seat, okay, in which there are a couple of risks which are involved. Yeah, can you see my screen? Yeah, hello.
So far, Sandesh, can you make ma'am as co-host?
Yeah, I think he has made. Yeah, I think he has made me the, yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes,
okay.
we can.
Yes, yeah. So there's a disparity, okay? It's like, the elite now looking out to see how they can maintain their status quo and also try to create some social value. So when we look at the figures, okay, I'm going to be statistically proving my point and saying that why education is not the favorite CSR aspect is what Sakshi said, okay, because I think we need to know about it. So totally, if you look at the data which the government of India has provided on the public domain called as National CSR Portal, almost 1001 billion rupees has been coming to the social sector. This is 2014 to 2019-20. Okay, last year we have received, the last financial year we have received 22,000 crores. Now, when you look at the data in terms of where the money is going, you will find environmental sustainability is highest, 30,000 crores. Education is just 770 crores. And the reason for this is the Swachhata Abhiyan and the mad rush to create toilets, okay, open defecation. And we know that how much money has been poured into it because that was a pet project of the government. And that is where most of the money has been literally been rested over there, where the behavioral modification and those types of things have not taken place. The areas where Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and other things have happened, there are no partnerships, okay? It is merely infrastructure development given to the contractor and getting it. So the high level committee report talks about 43% NGO partnership. 34% of companies are implementing their programs on their own. 10% are implementing through their own foundations because they feel that is safer for them because they can try to maneuver the money the way in which they want. Now, when you look at the X and Y axis of the partnership domain, the companies would like to start with the pet project, which does not create either a social value or does not create even a business value. Now, what are these pet projects? These pet projects would be something like the chairman's wife or the director's wife wants to do something, okay, because they like a particular event, they want to promote that, and this does not create. And if we are saying that can CSR be a game changer, this question was continuously asked in 2014 when the law came into existence. Can CSR be a game changer? And we find that pet projects cannot be game changers for anyone. We move to propaganda CSR, where there is a hogwash or a green CSR, or people or companies saying that we value children, but then in the supply chain, their child labor would be used, or they say we value women's empowerment, but you find in the supply chain women are abused and there is an oppression that is taking place. Or companies say that, you know, we save water through the clean development mechanism, but then they would pollute water. Okay, so that would be something like a propaganda CSR, which is a form of advertisement. It does not create either social value, though it may create some amount of business value for the companies. Look at the philanthropy part of it. Yes, it does create a high level of social value, but often there are questions asked about the reputation of business, that companies may contribute to women's development activities, but you will find certain directors of the company are found to be in sexual harassment cases. So you would find that contradictions which are over there, that you do you support a cause in the external society, but within the business model, there are certain issues with which causes you have supported, you are not taking those into consideration when you are managing your business. Now, with the society becoming intelligent and with the law coming in, and where the shareholder is thinking about if they are investing money in creating a care economy, okay, because a business economy will work only if a care economy is developed. Business economy cannot survive if there are environmental and social risks. And that is where we find that the focus of business is moving towards how do I create value by addressing certain strategic challenges which I'm facing to business. So if I'm moving into artificial intelligence, what type of skill sets do I want, okay, in my company, and from where will I get these skill sets? So if I'm running a company which is on water purification, I require to create water resources. If I don't create water resources, how am I going to purify it? So business is also looking at considering that how can I create this value through investment in the larger society and creating a win-win situation. From societal perspectives, NGOs are also shifting from merely asking funds to looking at developing employment, overall quality of life, living standards. So society is also becoming intelligent, and so are NGO professionals also understanding the business case, understanding that, okay, we require to create a win-win situation and we cannot merely, look at creating the societal value. So there is an increased emphasis on creating something that I called as SV square, the shareholder value and the societal value. Because ultimately philanthropy comes from profit. And legally speaking, profit belongs to the shareholders. And so why should the shareholder part with their dividends, a part of their dividends to create societal value? They would be interested, provided you create a good environment, a social environment, a good supply chain, which is required for the businesses. If they find that profitability increases by investing in the larger society, definitely they'll be too happy to, support this. So there is a paradigm shift moving from philanthropy to the whole aspect of partnering. Instead of looking at altruistic partnering, we are looking at strategic partnering, and the strategic partnering may not give immediate results in all cases, but definitely there will be long-term dividends over there. So to make my point more clear, companies have started looking at CSR as an opportunity. They're looking at doing smart partnerships because we are in a world of doing everything smartly. Whether human beings are becoming smart or not, that I do not know, but mobile phones are smarter, and so are, cities are becoming smarter. So companies are looking at, and after all, what is a company? It's an artificial entity created by law. and which is the law permits it to create profit maximization. And if profit is their goal, they are looking at what are the social and environmental risks which are operating in the larger society, and can we create, a business for change. So we are looking at, can we take those externalities, what we are throwing it outside, can we take it within the business model? So we're looking at, in terms of sustainable finance, the investor is also worried about that if human rights activist and environmental rights activist and health activist can gang up against a company, it can really impact their profits. And so businesses have started rethinking, revising, and understanding that it is in their interest that they stand to support these social causes, because the same very social causes are business risks. So if you look at the SDG framework or MDG framework, there's nothing but the risk to business. Poverty is a risk to business. Lack of education is risk to business. Lack of health is risk to business. So all these are social risks, and lack of sustainable development definitely is not going to make a good business proposition. So the way ahead, what they're looking out is, can we get a right partner? Right partner in the sense, in terms of all legal compliances in place, okay, having neat, clean and tidy paperwork, having a website presence, having, agreeing to the, minimum requirements, what the companies have been saying in terms of where will you implement the project, because the law tells you to implement projects in local areas. The challenge for NGO is that there is, suppose if you take in Maharashtra an area called Lote Parshuram, where you have a hub of industries. For all the industries, local area is the same. So the local area benefits a lot, but what happens to the peripheral area? So how do we define those areas called as local areas is one of the things which companies require to rethink. Their boards are intelligent enough to define what is a local area, and understand that NGOs may be not highly corporatized in the beginning, but definitely you can corporatize them over a period of time if they are able to deliver those deliverables which are required by the society and also by the company. Say, for example, you look at the competencies. The boards are defining projects based on their competencies and the local need. So a company like Dell, if it is a technology company, has supported the government and the NGOs to create a digital healthcare platform. Your Ayushman Bharat, okay, is being promoted through the digital platform. The competency of the company is the technology. Competency of the company are the human resources, your distribution strategies. These are competencies which can be leveraged to the NGO when you're trying to create a successful partnership project. So practically every company with whom I'm interacting with today is no longer just outsourcing social activities. There's a deep thought that goes that how is it going to benefit me, and how in the long run and in the short run always. And so when companies are deciding this, they're deciding because the boards are taking into consideration what are the risks and what are the advantages for partnering with a particular NGO. So you will seldom find a rights-based NGOs partnering with companies to create any partnership, okay? So the softer side would be education, would be health, would be, tree plantation, would be climate change, would look into those things. But the hardcore of the social work is still not getting addressed, okay, through CSR. And I don't think that it will ever be addressed. Issues like child labor, okay, issues like women's operations, no, it will not get. But women's economic empowerment, definitely it will get, because you're creating a market. So the core competencies and resources which the businesses have, the NGOs should know about it. So when you're applying for any proposal to any company, first and foremost, you have to understand their goals are profit maximization. It cannot be changed. You have to understand and accept this fact. Second is you have to design a proposal in such a way that you can help them to understand how they will stand to benefit. Look at the NGOs. When the companies are selecting NGOs, they're looking at expertise that they have, compliances that they have, the staff strength that they have, the staff merits that they have. So a company like HCL will parade the entire NGO sector for almost 7 months and then select 3 NGOs. So it is like, Bharat Matrimony or the Shadi.coms, which is there. So you'll find more than 300 NGOs applying for those grants and only 3 NGOs getting those 5 crore grants which are there. So companies definitely have an upper hand when they're going to select the NGOs. But a time will arrive soon in future that NGOs will be having upper hand to decide whether they want to work with a corporate or they don't want to work with a corporate. Government partnerships plays a very important role in terms of providing infrastructure, government providing those networks, government creating those policies. Just now, the Commissioner Sir spoke about it, that how he can provide those resources to College of Social Work. That's the strength of the government, and that is where you will find that those partnerships will succeed to a greater extent. Once the partnership is started, one has to understand that there are 4 key areas to see that are we going to really sustain these partnerships. And so first and foremost is looking at both the parties, the NGOs, the corporates, and if there are governments involved into it, to look at our CSR activities well directed towards the stakeholders. Are we taking a 360-degree perspective and aligning everything to it? Are the activities well coordinated? Are you using certain, log frames, or you're using certain technology-based, assessment frameworks to see that your activities are coordinated? Is the activity really creating effectiveness? Is value getting created? Value, social value, as well as businesses are going to look at the business value of it. And definitely after the partnership ends, is this particular activity going to be continued with the local community? Can the community have that ownership? Because when we have systematized processes, and when we are talking about impact assessment, that if your project is more than 10 crores, then you get into impact assessment. Your project is more than 1 crore, you get into impact assessment. You cannot assess impacts till you do not have systematized systems in place. Most of the leading companies today are using technology. They are using project management softwares. They are using mobile-based technologies. They are using Internet of Things-based sensors to monitor what is happening in project areas. When they are sitting here in Mumbai, they can monitor what is happening in Madhya Pradesh. They are using drone cameras, dashboards, CSR analytics. And all this is important because this is real data. And that big data is going to help us to create that outcomes and impact assessment and see whether the partnerships are really getting sustained. Lastly, I would like to say in terms of we are in something that is called as CSR 2.0 DNA model, where we are looking at value creation. And if we are looking at value creation, the goal for the company is economic development. The goal for the NGOs is also creating an economic development in terms of creating livelihood support, employment opportunities, entrepreneurship. We're looking at those things. And that is where skilling plays a very, very important role, because companies require skilled human resources. Companies require healthy human resources. So the key indicators a company would look at, or even an NGO would look at, is capital investments, would look at beneficial products, would look at inclusive businesses. And definitely this cannot come when the boards of the companies get in without getting into good governance, or those independent directors which are sitting on CSR committees will also require to play a key role in providing that leadership both to the company as well as NGO leaders, working in tandem with each other. There has to be a synergy that has to be created. The entire shift is not just community, but different stakeholders, which are in the business organizations, looking at their orientation, looking at fair labor practices, supply chain integrity. All these issues are becoming more and more important. So you're supposed to create something that is called as social value and business value. The business case, which is extremely important. And that is why the shift is now towards sustainable finance. So you find a lot of discussions on ESG going on. The impact investment is really getting a major visibility. So you look at French banks, they are majorly into sustainable finance. They're looking at, is business having social and environmental risk? I don't want to invest in those areas. So you have leading bankers and financial institutions following equator principles to look at project finance, that whether project finance has any risk. And that is where you're looking at SDGs, not just from community perspective, but looking at incorporating it in the business model. You're looking at this is not just a feel-good factor, but this is an essential way of doing business. So I think NGOs can really transform, okay, shift from transactional activities to transformational activities with the partnerships, okay, where both the business leaders as well as NGO leaders can play a key role. So it may take some time, but definitely it is there to stay for a longer duration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Meena. That was really insightful. And thank you for highlighting the contradictions that are existing where corporates are supporting child education, but at the same time not doing anything about child labor in their supply chain, which is a very, very real problem and needs to be solved, especially in agro farming based supply chains. And also we will address questions at the end, but it was very insightful. All your, the thought of transactional to transformational is such a powerful thought. And I will come back to you at the end of the session when we open it up for question and answers. Thank you so much for all this thoughts that you put forward. So the next speaker that I would like to introduce is Mr. Alex Hayes. He is currently working as a responsible business manager at Kenny Waste Management. This company is providing environmentally safe and controlled waste management services for over 30 years. And their business model and mission is to help other organizations and communities to reduce, reuse, and recycle waste. Alex has been a CSR professional with over 7 years, and he is also a qualified mental health aid first aider and a qualified trainer in the theory of change, which he has completed at the NEF Consulting. Today, Alex will speak about the 4 dimensions of CSR at the workplace, community, environment, and marketplace, and how important it is for us to focus on SDG 17, which is at the heart of everything that we do as partnerships. Over to you, Alex.
Hello. Well, thank you. I mean, that was an incredible presentation by Dr. Meena. To let everyone know, Dr. Meena and I haven't shared our presentations, but what she has just said, I'm about to tell you is broadly the UK perspective. So I'm going to share my screen and I've got a presentation to share. So we're going to see what we can do here. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Let me just... Okay, so you should just be able to see one slide now. Is that correct? Great. Okay, so I was asked to talk about partnerships from a UK perspective, and I'm gonna go at a pace to cover a few things because I know there's going to be lots of questions, and I'd much rather get there. So I think partnerships is all about change, and it's all about working with other people to do that. Okay, and in the UK, we did have 4 dimensions traditionally. And they were called the 4 pillars, and there they are on the left. So you've got, how does an organisation support its employees? How does it support the local community? How does it look after the environment? You know, and how is it an ethical business? And that was quite an established model. And there's lots of organisations in the UK and globally using that 4-pillar model to explain what they do and create strategy. Now, over time, that has evolved into different terms like sustainability and responsible business. And as just mentioned, increasingly, it's becoming more ESG. So ESG is about the risks associated with the business. So it becomes quite embedded in the business. And I've also noted that in the UK, organizations are looking for other people to accredit their work. So we've got organizations such as the Carbon Trust, which will come into your organization and will make sure that what you're saying is true about your work or reducing your carbon impact. And there are some others at the bottom there, including you may have seen the B Corp organization, but there's a very big one in the UK called Business in the Community. And this is sort of broadly run by Prince Charles himself. And he's driving organizations, big and small, to be really ethical. I think regarding partnerships, they used to have a very, very strong model in which a corporate organization would partner up with a charity, okay, primarily. And the partnership would be run by people in the marketing team or the personnel, the HR team. And again, this would be a very transactional relationship. So the corporate organization would give some money to the charity, and the charity would allow it to use its logo and its badge for PR and for branding purposes. And then the employees would be encouraged to, climb mountains or do fun runs, raise money for the charity. This is all about PR and promotion. So just similar to that slide we saw a moment ago, which I wrote some notes down around the matrix around benefit and to society and business. This fits clearly in the middle strand there. Okay, and often charities partnerships would be run by goals. So how much money we're going to raise, how many people are we going to influence, things like that. Okay, and this is a good example on my screen here. So Boots is a UK chemist pharmacy on every street up and down the country. And Macmillan is a very big charity, one of the biggest in the UK. And they look after people who have had cancer. Okay, so you are in a situation where two organizations are working together to promote themselves, and both Boots and Macmillan are in the strategic healthcare space. So that makes a lot of business sense. Okay. But I do recognize that they are moving. And again, it feels a bit like CSR 2.0 model we've just seen. The corporate charity model now is evolving into something whereby people are working on a goal together. Okay, so you're perhaps the senior leadership team are completely driving this partnership. They understand that they can only work together to solve an issue such as homelessness or child poverty or hunger if they work with multiple different partners. So charities, NGOs, the government, and they will work with all of those organizations, but it's mutually beneficial. The company will give a resource. I mean, we just saw an example now about Dell creating a digital platform. It's possible that Dell gave its workers and its technology to enable it to do that. And again, like I say, it's strategic and it's long term. And I do believe that is going to be the successful CSR model in the future. One of the things I also heard earlier was the importance about impact. And our government have taken steps to ensure that CSR activity is impactful. And the way it has done that is by moving into law, into legislation, that certain companies have to demonstrate social value. And I just want to talk about social value because I think it's a really important development of CSR. When you think about CSR and growing in a maturity, I think the social value is the next step along. So social value is it's driven by procurement policy. So if a big construction business or a big manufacturing firm wishes to work for the government to build a hospital or to build a train, then they have to do it in a particular way, and the government will say you have to spend so much money in the local area. And so it becomes driven all the way down from the government all the way down to individual people. So I work for a small business, but we work for very big businesses, and we take waste off construction sites, building sites. So when the construction firm builds a new hospital, they are told you have to employ X many local people, you have to deliver X amount of training, you have to pay people a fair wage, and these are all written down. And there are lots of organisations who will say we can deliver £1 million worth of social value, or we can deliver £2 million worth of social value on this project. And because it is such a recognised framework, it makes the business have to be very competitive. Okay, so I'll give you, and because of the framework, it looks a bit like this. So every time you contract the government money, it will say, what are you doing to address these particular issues? And then I have to track that. And a bit like a previous presenter spoke around tracking impact, this is really important. So, how many voluntary hours have we done? And then I have to report that back up to the government. So I will give you a very good worked example now of where I work. So I work for a waste business, and we set out a number of employment programs to help people into work who couldn't get work. So perhaps they've been in the justice system, or perhaps they've got a long-term mental health problem, and we've worked with those people and we've given them work. And this is it's called a social enterprise. So it's a bit like a real business, but instead of the money going to the shareholders, the profit it makes goes back into the problem it's trying to solve. So it's a not-for-profit business. And we've worked hard on creating this, and these are some of our people. But the outcome of that was that we were able to track our impact over 3 years, and we were able to say, using an online platform, just as we can see now, that we were able to demonstrate £2.2 million worth of social value. And I think this is the bit where your previous speaker, Dr. Meena, was talking about the 2.0 model, about prove to me that you've made a difference. So we've spent a lot of time finding out how many local people do we have, how many of our supply chain are small businesses or startups, how much money did we give to charity, and then we put that through an online tool, which is all driven by the government, and then we're able to say this is our value. And I think that enables me to go back to the directors to say, this work is really impactful and we do more of it. And this pet project work that you want to do is not very impactful. We shouldn't do that anymore. And so when you are looking at the matrix, you can actually help people figure out where they should do work and where they should not. And I think that bit will be the future of CSR. And again, I am conscious of time. I really want to speak to some of the people who are online. So just one more thing really is for everyone to know that if we all just work in our own offices, we won't achieve anything. We all have to come together to achieve something. And very often, big businesses and small businesses can share resources to change the world in which they work and live. And that is my very brief presentation. But I guess it's a very complicated sector in the UK, whereby I, as an individual responsible business manager, am asked to be a compass to the business every day. And so I could talk all day about it, but I'm here to listen and to help. So that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Alex. That was really forward-looking, and it kind of was a perfect presentation following Dr. Meena's presentation, where he spoke about social value, which really is what we need to progress to, because you need to have accountability. And if you don't have accountability, then you're just, like Dr. Meena said, doing, a word, you're just kind of saying good things, but you're not really demonstrating them through action, and action means everything.
Agreed.
And of course, we will take questions at the end of the session, and we really are grateful that you came on, it's early morning in the UK, so thanks a lot for being here. And I will now bring in our next panelist, guest speaker, Priya Satish. Priya has been working for more than a decade and a half. She has expertise in stakeholder management, grant management, policy and development. She's also an expert in volunteer management, employee engagement, and all stakeholder management, which is how partnerships will form. And we're lucky to have her today to speak and present along with the other two panelists. Priya also is currently a social value manager at Maximus UK. It is an organization that is passionate about making a real difference in communities. And it also is working across England, Scotland, and Wales to bring about this real difference in the communities. Priya has also worked in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and she develops value propositions in CSR strategies for corporate partners. Prior to this, Priya was working as a CSR and sustainability manager at BPCL, and she has a postgraduate diploma in communication and journalism, a master's in social work from College of Social Work Nirmala Niketan, and a postgraduate in development management from the SP Jain University. She's also a business and sustainability management graduate from the University of Cambridge. Thank you so much for being with us today, Priya. Over to you.
Thank you. And first of all, thanks to NN for hosting this wonderful conclave. It is a dream come true for me, because ever since I passed out in '99 and I entered the CSR industry, I have been requesting principles after principles, right from Mary Alphonse, then Geeta Balakrishnan, and now Lidwin Ma'am you. So very happy, can't be happier than this. Actually, Alex has helped me to introduce myself. So he spoke about social value, and that's what I currently manage for a company called Maximus in the UK. But today I'm not going to speak about my experience in the UK, because I think Alex has already set the context bright and clear, and I'm always available for anyone who wants to chat with me about my UK experience. What I'm here today is basically to share about my experience of having led CSR from the scratch in one of the leading public sector oil and gas company, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, a Fortune 500 company, India's major oil and gas player for more than 15 years. I don't have any presentations because I believe everyone has a Zoom fatigue. So I'm just here to chat. Nilima said I have exactly 10 minutes. So I'm just going to ensure that I finish my very informal conversations in the next 10 minutes. So just to put the context, whenever people talk about CSR in so many forums that I have gone through over the years, when it comes to partnership, it's always a very externally focused conversation. But what I want to do in today's session, because many of the people who are part of this session here today are practitioner CSRs, and some aspire to be CSR. So I'm going to take a step forward and talk about internal partnerships and how I steered that in the company. So basically, I was very lucky because I got this opportunity to create the first CSR policy procedures and guidelines for BPCL, erstwhile Burma Shell. And it was a time when we were suddenly increasing our spending from 0.5% of the net profit to 2%. Just to give you an idea, some 10, 20 crores to some 200, 250 crores. And this was much, much before CSR law came into existence. So I'm talking about a period of 2006, 7, 8. And that's where we set up our first CSR policy procedures and guidelines. And I must tell you, to drive a CSR in such a large company, which is spread across the length and breadth of the country with 12,000 retail outlets, hundreds of depots, installations, bottling plants, we need to take our internal people along, because we talk about sustainability, but 1 or 2 or 3 people in CSR cannot drive a company CSR. You need to create that leadership pipeline within the company. So I think that was our achievement, because back then, no one talked about engaging your own employees in creating a CSR policy, vision, and we did that. So I feel very happy, because I cannot say I created the CSR policy. It was we, by engaging colleagues, going into locations, doing the visioning exercise together. That time there were no SDG. That time it was UN Millennium Development Goals. And we used that as a yardstick to see how we can align, and taking the board along. No one talks about that. I mean, when you talk about partnerships, boards have very different level of skill set. And here you are driving CSR coming from a very, social sector background. So how do you work with the board to slowly educate them in the sense that they are better understand CSR from the values and the language that you talk about? So for example, stakeholder engagement, focused group discussions. It's just very jargonized. Boards don't understand these languages. So how do you then work about, as a CSR professional, work closely with the board and take them along in this journey? And then I've written down some points, because Nilima said I have just 10 minutes. And yes, third important thing is, we learned, when I made the CSR policy, we learned from other companies. I went to Tata's, HSBC, small, big, large, and Infosys. And then one of the things we really got inspired was, okay, allowing the board to champion causes, rather than what Meena ma'am said, it's not your wife's favorite subject or something like that. So these goals, these visions have been created by colleagues. Now we have aligned them to Millennium Development Goals. Now, as a board members, which causes would you like to champion? So it is a kind of a partnership which requires bottoms up and top down support. And I feel happy because we created this. And talking about, I've just written down. Yes. Again, I said it was very important to have sustainable CSR, or something which is much more futuristic. How do you involve your colleagues? That time, public sectors, it was unheard of employee volunteering. In fact, when I first, it was a very organic way of starting employee volunteering, because we have levels in a public sector as big as BPCL. You have management, you have clerical, you have labor. All these are such well-defined levels that how do you create that partnership? And CSR could be a way forward to completely bridge these levels which exist in an organization and volunteer for a cause. That time we were driving Project Boond, which was our pioneer water management through rainwater harvesting pan-India. And that was one of the breakthrough, very organically. I said, oh, do people across the company know? Like, what is it? What are we doing in the community? Here we have big offices, shell created, and I see sometimes water dripping from the taps. And here we are as a company fighting, creating, making villages drought proof. Let everyone go, volunteer, understand, create that transparency and governance where public money is going. So we created very organically something. And that time employee volunteering was unheard of in public sector, but it was a wonderful way to then spearhead it, spread across projects, and create that wonderful partnerships with colleagues within the organization, cutting across the levels that exist. Otherwise, senior management, board, and board lovingly supported all these things. So I was in a way lucky because it took effort, but they understood and then they aligned. Another important aspect which I felt was, another thing which I achieved just before moving to the UK was launching something like Bharat Connect program. Again, when I share about this with some of my UK colleagues and audience, they can't believe it. But what it was, every year, if the company is recruiting 300, 350 officers every year, and then you expect them to get posted in locations after their orientation, and then you expect them that they will support you in monitoring your CSR projects, which were far-fetched, rural, tribal, across. It won't happen. So they have to be immersed in the cause much before they go out and get their postings. So we started a program called Bharat Connect. Just for Alex's knowledge, Bharat is the other name of India. So the Indian name of India in that sense. So we said all those who join the company will have a seven-day CSR immersion program. Imagine managing this for 300, 350 colleagues every year. Wonderful support from HR. So CSR induction, not just a classroom presentation that I used to make, but in batches, they will be posted in rural areas. They will live there. They will understand the projects that is being implemented. They will interact with the community. And when they get their posting back into wherever depot manager or installation, this just becomes naturally to them. You don't have to then say, oh, give me a champion, talk to HR, talk to manager, this comes naturally. Oh, there is a school. Why don't I go and see what's happening? Oh, so you're creating a leadership pipeline by not just, and this gives, because when they become a leader, you can't just expect them to drive business results or sell so much of diesel or petrol or no, you have to have the all the elements to it, managing people. So it's also managing community. So this was again a very important point of integrating CSR into the business mainstream, because if these things don't happen, there will be no sustainability. It will be few people within the company driving as if it's their business, and the rest of the organization talks about a completely different language. So I think these were a couple of very important things in partnerships that I wanted to share today. I'm just seeing if there are, yes, and few other things. I mean, since I have a couple of more minutes, we also had a focus as a company to look at both small and large partners. So it was not because we wanted our reporting systems to be easy. So there was equal focus on engaging with grassroots organizations while we engage with large partners. And another important aspect of partnerships, which I very rarely hear in CSR language being spoken about, every company that supports a CSR project or a program knows they have to exit in 3 to 5 years. You cannot go on, as the commissioner sir also pointed out. No one talks about exit right in the beginning when you start a partnership. We spoke about that, and we spoke about, okay, we know we have to exit in the next 3 to 5 years. We can only support this project to that extent. So what can I do? So here is again another example of partnerships. So by working with academic institutions like NN, TIS, SPJAN, we used to have every year capacity building workshops for our NGO partners. And what is the capacity they would like to have in them, they decide, not we. So we say, this is what it is. Some will say how to get more funds, how to write project proposals, how to write this, how they decide. And across our country, we used to work with more than 250, 300. I don't know. There will be more than 500 projects that we were supporting. We used to call all of them, host them, spend 3 days. And most importantly, rather than we asking some academician or someone to teach with them, I'm sure some of my professors are also here today. I'm told Rukaiya ma'am is participating, Geeta ma'am, I don't know, but what I'm saying is they also learned from one another, providing a platform. You may be working on education, some on health, some on water, some on environment, doesn't matter. There is cross-sector learning. And just creating that environment, bringing them together, hosting, staying, spend 3 days, talk to one another. How do we address these issues? And these were some, I think, good examples of partnerships which we facilitated. And though it was a bit internal focus that I spoke about today, but I think setting the foundation right for CSR was very important. So thank you. And being an ex-NNite and, NN hosting this, I'll surely leave my email address in the chat. Feel free to write to me, talk to me, and I'll be more than happy to, have any further conversations on this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Priya. That was really a good conclusion to a great session in terms of presentations. You spoke on a very important topic, which is internal partnerships, which I think that, how do you shift conversations to the boardroom was very important. How do you shift conversations about CSR to employees through employee engagement? And I know that BPCL is way ahead of the curve. Organizations like IBM, JP Morgan, 3M, SAP have a employee engagement program, which is that chalks out future leaders. And Bharat Connect was a program that you worked on way ahead of a lot of organizations bringing employee engagement to the forefront. You also spoke about NGO capacity building, where there was a cross learning, and I thought that was really insightful, because it's not about just one side telling the other what to do, but when you create a meaningful partnership, everyone comes to the table as an equal stakeholder. There's no one who's better than the other, but we all come on that table as equals to learn from each other and to impart our experiences and see how can we further work to co-create magical partnerships. With that, I will open it up for questions. I have one question that I would like to start, and that is to Dr. Meena, because she spoke about transactional to transformational. And a new, there's a new wave of CSR that is emerging in the US, which is talking about circular economies. And I wanted to check in with you, what do you think about that thought process, where businesses are accountable for bringing back the waste that they put out? Cities get involved at a local and government state level to co-create this kind of a program. Do you see a future for that in India? And how would you advise the government and businesses and NGOs, civil society, to take this as the next step? Over to you, Dr. Meena.
Thanks, Amrit, for that question. Now, first and foremost, in India, we are a little confused, with CSR and sustainability, where the law, section 135 talks about only community development. And so waste management and community development has to be taken up in that particular area. And when through the business processes, when businesses are getting into circular economy and waste management and clean development mechanisms, that is part of your business responsibility. So the top 1,000 companies from last November, have been mandated to create and report to the list to SEBI as well as to MCS to what they are doing in the areas of circular economy. You're required to have a policy in place. So if you have a market capitalization of more than 500 crores, you will get into that area, and so business responsible reporting becomes mandatory for you. So that is, so it should not be confused with section 135. So companies cannot use the 2% of profit before tax for circular economy, which is going to create a business value. Definitely it creates a social value because you're not throwing the externality outside now. You're taking the externality inside. You're looking at outside in approach. So you're looking at that particular, and companies are, the first requirement for a company is comply with the law. So what drives the company today more than morality is the legal part of it, the compliance part of it. Morality comes at number 2, according to me, because I've studied 90 manufacturing companies. I've just completed my study on that. And it shows that compliance, because the penalties are heavy, there is a reputation damage, there's litigation, so the cost is very high. And so the circular economy is getting accepted because it saves the company from the reputation damage, the litigation related, plus it saves the cost in the long run, because initially you have to make an investment. When we talk about environment and social part of it, there is a lot of investments first companies will have to make. And then you reap the benefits out of it. So your business plan is now going to look at what are investments that you will make, and then you will reap the benefits. So when companies start reaping the benefits of getting into circular economy, it becomes a normal practice for them. But for that, at least companies have to invest first for 4 to 5 years to get that. And that job is done to a larger extent by independent directors sitting on the board. So if you have an environmental specialist who is sitting on your board and he explains to you the cause and effect and helps you to understand that this strategic investment is very important, because otherwise you will have all activists waiting outside your company. You don't want to do that. You don't want your business to get into it. So it becomes prudent on that part. So the role of the independent directors to push circular economy within the businesses is extremely important. So if you look at the National Stock Exchange, 100 ESG companies are doing far better than compared to the other 100 companies which are not listed on the ESG parameter. So that proves the point that business stands to earn more profits if they are compliant with ESG and compliant, and that means circular economy. Okay, and means one of the component of ESG is circular economy.
Thank you for that. That was really helpful. And Alex, I'll address the next question to you. And then we'll come back to you, Dr. Meena. There are a couple of more questions for you and Priya as well. So Alex, I just wanted, like you've heard the presentations from Priya, from Dr. Meena, and you also spoke about social value. What would be your recommendation for Indian organizations on building a social value plan, and how do you think they can leverage from learnings, from other organizations and adopt these models?
Okay, it's very easy to write an academic model. It's very hard to make people who work in the real world follow an academic model. So I would keep it easy. And I would just ask one question. So what? Okay, so if you hand out 100 computers to children who don't have a computer, so what? You need to ask, are those children now more educated, or do they now have more access to something? So someone spoke about impact, and it's always about the impact for me. So don't think about what you're doing. Think about the impact your doing is having. So it's difficult because Priya was talking about volunteering, and we can count the amount of volunteering hours, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. But what did they volunteer on? They built 4 wells or 10 wells in a rural area. Okay, so what? What it means is 1,000 families now have access to clean water. And those 1,000 families, and that's the story. That's the impact you should be looking for on social value, is that we helped 1,000 families access clean water. Does that answer your question?
No, absolutely. And of course, impact is what we should start a project with, and what are we going to do? How are we going to exit? All these points have been highlighted.
My other point would be, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So choose 1 or 2 things and do it very, very well.
Yeah.
Because if you try this or try that, it will be very difficult. So 2 things very well measured, you will deliver a lot of social value.
Thank you, Alex. That was very helpful. And Priya, I'll ask you the next question. One of the participants, Mohammed Sheikh, has asked that every company should not every company engage in employee volunteering, helping communities or NGO projects in certain areas in a month, or maybe even every month. What is your response to that question?
I think employee volunteering is a great way of building sustainability in an organization. They become more aware about the causes. There are multiple benefits that the company could derive from their own staff if they allow their colleagues to volunteer, talk about leadership, mental health, well-being. I mean, ask employees themselves, what benefits do they see when they volunteer? And and I wrote a very recently one article on LinkedIn because I left BPCL almost 7 years back to move to the UK. And I asked my colleagues who volunteered 7 years back when I was there on what interested them, what did they learn from volunteering. And everyone had a very different reason to volunteer and how they benefited from it. But I think it was still there, very fresh in their minds of the benefits of volunteering. When we did the BPCL policy, we did not give any time off for volunteering. So it was their personal time, everything their personal thing, but we started reporting on volunteering way then. But internationally, many companies do give colleagues time off. Even currently, the social value that I lead for Maximus UK, it's a kind of it's 2 days of volunteering. Many people have gone virtual, so there's a lot of flexibility in volunteering, but it's very much integrated within their CSR and sustainability strategy. So there is a lot of merit in volunteering.
Thank you. What would you say to the board? I mean, I know that employee volunteering is not encouraged. Maximum that organizations do is 1 day or 2 days. And I don't think that's enough to really know the program. And what you did with Bharat Connect was transformational because you kind of enabled people who are at a initial stage of their career to become future leaders. So how would you advise organizations who just give 1 day, 2 day? Alex, please come in.
I was going to say, volunteering is voluntary. And so you should give people the opportunity. They can volunteer to see, and there will be people who do not want to volunteer because they are not comfortable doing that. And you should say that is okay. And then people will go and they will see, and they will come back and tell stories in the office. Making everyone volunteer will erode the process. What Priya did was pure HR employee engagement, and fantastic. But saying to people, I'm going to make you volunteer, I'm going to make you stop your work and go and do this, they will cause unhappiness in the team. But that's just my experience of opportunity and storytelling.
No, absolutely, Alex. I thank you for that insight. I just have a counter question for you since it's interactive.
Bharat Connect was not employee volunteering. It was integrating CSR into the mainstream business. Volunteering was something they did in their personal time because we didn't have any time off for volunteering then. I don't know what's the policy now.
All right. I feel that what's happening in the current stage is that a lot of employees are given 1 or 2 days of compulsory volunteering, and it is not enough. While it is an introduction to CSR, when you want to kind of, create future leaders, it's very important to involve them in your strategic thinking. So if there are any other insights, please do come in because this is a good interactive session and we'd like to hear a lot more.
Yeah, so Amrit, I would like to share that a couple of companies have a separate budget for employee volunteers to take up social projects. I can say with confidence about Mahindras and Mahindras. They have 132,000 employees across the country. And they were the first company to develop an ESOPs program, which is Employee Social Options Project. Okay, this was way back in 1991. So that was the time, and every factory, wherever they have, they have the employee groups and they present the CSR budget to the committee. And there is out of that 2%, there is some amount kept only for employee volunteers to undertake projects in the areas of health, livelihood support, environment. These thematic areas are listed in their policy. So employees should formulate that, find out local NGOs, work with them. And at the end, they have once in a year the presentations by the employee volunteers. So I think creating distributive leadership is extremely important, because you create that ownership amongst people which are there, of owning up that this planet belongs to everyone. And so whether it is mandatory or voluntary CSR, one has to understand you depend upon the larger society. And for me, it is your constitutional duty. So you look at, if you are so aware about your rights, you also for a change open the constitution, okay, and see what are your duties. And your duties you require, okay, so if you require blood or you require an organ or you require anything, you will run to an NGO and say, please help me. Okay, that time you're not saying that, okay, it was, no, you make it as a legitimate right. And so I think the millennials, okay, if they are trained, and this comes as a very natural form of, contributing to create a good society around yourself. If there are more inequities, okay, people will have lot more problems. So you create a harmonious environment around you. So you would start with something that, okay, today businesses require a very holistic package of MBA students. So we have 21 days internship with NGOs, and we say that you need to understand the bottom of the pyramid market. You can't sit in an AC classroom, okay, and start telling government should do this and NGOs. What are you doing? Go and understand how the consumer at the bottom of the pyramid is thinking, because these are unmet needs, and these unmet needs like water, education, health, these are going to be future markets. So there has to be an investment. These are the type of impact investments that are coming in. Where are they getting invested? You will be working for this. So there's a business proposition to it. So any social problem can be solved using business strategy, and not in a negative term. The whole concept of social entrepreneurship is based on that. So you look at waste management, how do you create wealth out of it? Okay, how do you create energy out of it? Look at the type of businesses that are growing. So I think it will, if we inspire the millennials in their, when they're doing their higher education or school education, unfortunately, we do not do that at the right age. When they come to an MBA course, then we introduce, and then it becomes very difficult for them. But I think in the formative years, if that is introduced, it will come very organically to them. And after all, I mean, I don't subscribe to compulsory employee volunteering, but I do feel that some element, okay, of volunteering should be there so that your human side is well developed.
No, absolutely, Dr. Meena, that was well said. In fact, I wanted to, challenge Alex on his statement, because the reason why India mandated CSR was because they knew that the only way to shift conversations into the boardroom was through a mandate. And similarly, the planet is losing time. There is no time. We are, looking at a 2030, 2050 deadline for the planet. And is it really a time that we don't take it into our hands and push people rather than wait for the pull factor? I think it's time to push people to recognize that they need to step up and make a difference and contribute to society. So thank you so much for that perspective, Dr. Meena, because it really is what I wanted to elaborate, and you did it so articulately, and that was really helpful to the audience. And I know that someone had a question, they raised their hand, so I wanted to actually invite you to please, I think it was Akram, was it Akram?
Yes, madam, is it audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please do ask your question.
Yes, madam. Good afternoon, all of you. I would like to ask, yes, it is there that, okay, minimum limit of the CSR is there, but I think that this is that compulsion is making them to reduce their limits, because before CSR, before that CSR Act, that 2030, that before that also some of the companies are giving CSR more than 3%, more than 5%. But this compulsion is making now that okay, limiting there. And another things I want to share that NGOs are most of NGOs in India, I could see that are in delivering model, because they are getting something and they are delivering to the communities or the poor people. So that my according to my this will not help at all, and it need to be context based and priority based.
Okay.
And thank you so much.
So who would you like to address the question to, Akram?
This is my
So,
comment, madam. No question to anyone.
Oh, because you did say that you wanted to know why restricted to 2% and why don't they allow them to just spend as much as they want. So is there a question that you have?
If anyone speaker is ready to give answer, I am very happy.
Yeah, I will, Akram, I'll answer this question. You need to understand that companies have to take shareholders' permission. Okay, so the shareholders are going to tell you that if the law is asking you to give 2%, why are you giving more? And you said about 5%, no company, no shareholders will permit legally, okay, to the companies to give 5%. That's not allowed at all by law. So first, we require to understand the compliance part of it. Second is that your observation about companies who are spending more is only limited to some manufacturing companies and not all companies. You had companies like Reliance who would spend only 0.25, okay, 0.25. So where is so these were because of these companies, okay, who never spent or who had a very ad hoc approach, this 2% figure came into consideration. Now this 2% is also very high in companies like BPCL or ONGC or those type. Look at the profitability part of it. You say ONGC figures 400 crores. Now 400 crores, they have created an infrastructure for taking care of electronic crematoriums. Now these are the infrastructures which public sector company is contributing to save the environment, which are extremely important. So what we are looking at is that companies are contributing to saving the environment by creating those infrastructures, especially public sector companies which are there, who have huge budgets which don't get utilized totally. And you have companies looking at the supply chain. So the board is, there are different shareholders now. There are institutional shareholders which question the company that why have you invested in this area? How is it going to return? So you need to understand the board dynamics also. What we are looking at it from social work perspective is the micro factors, which are important. I'm not disputing on that, but the politics which goes at the board level is completely different and you need to address that. Thank you.
So well said, Dr. Meena. I mean, every time you have so much to share and your contributions make such a enriched discussion. And there's another question for you, Dr. Meena, from Siddhi Panchal. And her question is, what is the role of CSR in criminal justice?
Okay, can she elaborate on that? Can she elaborate on that? Because criminal justice can also be companies creating scams. Okay, like you just had the HDIL scam, which is out, and the Supreme Court has given a ruling to attach the UK properties now, okay, of the ones. So can you just elaborate on your question a little bit?
Siddhi, would you like to come in? Are you there, Siddhi?
I think she's joined from YouTube.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So if I have to answer in terms of if it is related to under trials or people who are serving sentences in jails, then skill development is one biggest opportunity where companies can coordinate with them. And companies do invest, okay, in rehabilitating people who are serving sentences. And over a period, okay, they then become part of the supply chain of the business. So whatever businesses are, so whether it may be in courier service or in cab services or those, so companies will invest in skill development, help you support to develop small micro enterprises in those ways. But in terms of paying your litigation cost or doing any of those things, I don't think company would invest in those types of activities.
Thank you. Thank you for that. There's another question for you again, Dr. Meena.
Yeah.
It says that can there be sustainability factors in projects like children home, hostels that are being funded by corporates?
Yeah, see, you have to, when money comes from CSR account, you have to treat the company like an investor, okay, like your funding agency. So the funding agency is looking at some innovations. What is that innovation that you have? Okay, so if you're looking at hostels or other type of things, what are the activities that you will do in the hostel? Because all your CSR activities have to be in a project mode. So mere infrastructure development for hostel may not be considered. So infrastructure plus your regular activities for a period of maximum 3 years. That is what the law says. So the law has also decided the exit part of it. So we need not be bothered about when to exit. The law tells you practically everything. So it is for, you will have to design a proposal in such a way that it helps company to create that type of an activity which is in place. Secondly, when we are looking at hostels, that how does it create a shared value for businesses? Now it creates a futuristic shared value. If you start a skill development activity, or you start some activities where the companies are likely to benefit in terms of employee volunteering, that these employees come there to spend time with children, or you have a mobile library, or you have a mobile lab which you create for children. That's what Tata Capitals is doing right now. So definitely they can work with the hostels to create a shared value, because it helps them to sensitize their own employees. That is, so shared value doesn't mean tangible value at all times. It also means a lot of intangible things.
Thank you. And we could address this to you, Priya. One of the last questions of the session today is that instead of active CSR, can the Amul model be useful for an Indo-agro company? Maybe you'd like to take this because you have your experience with BPCL.
Sorry, this goes back to the strength of every company basically, and the strategy. So Amul had that strength to work on a cooperative model, engage local farmers. So that model works, and it works fine. For other companies, depending on their structure, nature of business, allocation of resources, every company will play to their strength to drive CSR. So, but I don't know if CSR law with the new changes has made any kind of compulsions that this is how it needs to be. You can't go for the Amul model. You have to go as per the section 135 recently. But but otherwise, I think CSR is very strategic, and it plays to the strength of the company.
Thank you for that, Priya. And Nilima has one last question that she'd like to put forward before we wrap up the session, and I hand it over to Kaushik. Nilima, would you like to come in and ask your question?
Yeah. Thank you, first of all the panelists. It has become very interesting and creative and innovative, I will say, the discussion and dialogue which is going on. I have very simple but important question to ask to Priya ma'am. What will be the future scope or the demand for the social workers? Because now so many of our master degree students are going into CSR sector. So are they only going to be the sanctioning the funds from the executives and releasing the funds and implementing the CSR activities, or will they be involved at the executive and policy making level? So that is my very simple question. Thank you.
Actually, that's a very good question, Nilima. Maybe we could open it up to all the three panelists. Why don't, Priya, why don't we start with you? Let's hear about the future of CSR.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nilima. I think it's a very holistic role. It's a very holistic role. When I started as a grassroots coming from NN with the values and trainings of community engagement and working with people. And then my role evolved. I understood the dynamics of business, the pressure from ministry, working for a large public sector, working with board, across colleagues, across other industries. And as you go along, you just evolve. And I think you come to a stage where you are able to see and manage things from a bird's eye view, like look at entire 360-degree perspective. But I feel whatever you become, still be rooted to where you came from. Because after all, it's the people, the environment, the planet. So have the bigger picture in mind, but it does require a lot of flexibility. You can't have, because the businesses operate under a very different environment, and there are a lot of pulls and pressures. But again, bottom line is your ethics. I think that's what going to make all the difference, your value system. And with those two strong things, you can steer a lot of things and take people along. But it's a very aspirational sector. Nothing to fear. Just plunge, I think, and enjoy.
Thanks, Priya. Alex, over to you.
Yeah, I think follow your passion. Okay, so the CSR is a nice term for lots of different things. You can follow your passion in supply chain, or in the environment, or in energy, or in mental health. So whatever you're really passionate about, become really good at that, and then all businesses will want you in their business. So as CSR grows, there will be departments who want to know more about carbon, and there'll be departments that want to know about mental well-being. And so if you're passionate and you can be the voice of change in your organization, like Priya said, like talking to board level and your colleagues to get them all involved, that is where the real energy will come from. So don't forget and don't get caught up in corporate structure. It's just go out there and be passionate. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. That is such an inspiring advice to anybody, like be a master of one and you will have a future in this sector. Dr. Meena, there are actually two last questions for you. One was this, and the other is that Dr. Ronald has put forward in the chat box, which is, I think you've seen that,
yes,
right? Okay, over to you.
Okay, so I'll answer Nelima's question first, and I'll be very pragmatic. Nelima, to get CSR jobs in a company, okay, these are very niche area jobs, because no company will hire more than 2 or 3 maximum people in the CSR department, because as per the law, the salaries, okay, can be taken from the CSR fund. I mean, the CSR budget, which is there. Now, if you take 10 people, the entire fund will get over. So they will keep it to the minimum. So these people basically are the stewards who take this entire thing along. They are expected to do that. You also have sustainability officers, and the sustainability department looks at procurement, looks at environment, climate change, and all those. Now, again, that is another niche area. So there are some companies which double up their executives to work in both the domains, sustainability domain as well as CSR domains. So these are areas. But if you, so at the beginning, when people are entering the corporate or wish to enter the corporate, they have to understand that they have to continuously upgrade themselves. It's not that they did a PG diploma in CSR and that's the end of it. No, rather that's the beginning. You continuously keep updating yourself. Do Coursera courses, do other type of things, okay, which are required. Let us take, calculating SROI. You do at least 3-4 exercises in SROI, you will become confident about it. Understand how climate change things are working. You understand, how the entire, that your convincing ability has to improve. So I see a lot of jobs in the area of impact assessment. And why I see that, and I will, take Ronald's question also over there. Because as per the amendment, January 22nd amendment this year, it says that any company which has a budget of 10 crores and more and has a project of 1 crore, okay, that means if a company is having a budget of 50 crores and it has projects, 5 projects which are 10, 2 crores, 3 crores, whatever is the amount. If the amount is more than 1 crore, every year you require to do impact assessment. So you require to polish your skills in impact assessment. So you can actually, even working in an NGO, you can keep yourself very actively engaged with the providing your services to the corporate through this particular mechanism. And so I find a lot of jobs in the areas of impact assessment coming up. Again, provided you are able to calculate SROI. Every company today is demanding. Rather in AGMs, the shareholders are demanding. Now, these are institutional shareholders. They will say Godrej has done SROI on their skill development. Why has your company not done? So I would urge everybody over here, if you can attend one AGM, it's very important to attend an AGM to find out the type of difficult questions that your shareholders are asking and the type of answers that the chairman and the board of directors have to give. So you need to understand. So practically every company today starts a presentation about what they are doing in CSR because it's a non-controversial area. It is a feel-good factor for people, okay? And then they will come into the main things. So shareholders are equally educated. They understand what is going on, why the company is doing, what it is doing. So if you can create even a course in this particular CSR thing, devoting subjects to SROI, devoting subjects to understanding corporate governance, understanding role of CSR committee, the independent directors, I think you need to expose that part of it, which is very, very important, for the people in order to become job ready. You have to get job ready because it's very attractive for young people to say that I want to work in a corporate because it gives job security. There is some sort of an attraction. When you start working in a corporate, you will realize it's a Frankenstein machine. I'm sorry to say that, but this is my very, I'm very outspoken at it. You require to understand there are too many things that are happening in a corporate thing and you need to play it very well. So even to convince board members, like it's not so easy. There are stalwarts sitting over there from subject area experts, and they will try to convince you why should we not follow your things. And so because I'm sitting on one corporate board, I can understand. It takes, I've practically started changing myself because I've started believing that, okay, these guys are going to think it in that manner. So if I have to convince them, I have to change my strategy. So the moment you tell them compliance and risk, they are ready to accept it. But you try telling them anything that social good and the public good and other thing, it just doesn't work with them. They will like what Alex said, so what? Okay, so what is the thing? But if you tell them that under the act, you will be penalized, then they are okay, reluctantly they agree. So I think there are jobs available in the impact area of it. And as Ronald said, whether people will take it seriously or not, time will show us. Time will show us, because why I'm saying it is because the act, the people who have designed the law say every year you have to carry an impact. It's impossible to carry out impact every year. Because with Britannia Nutrition Foundation, they said we started the project on nutrition last year, and this year, please do impact assessment for us. I said, what? Let the children eat some food. If they don't eat food, what impact assessment I'm going to do? So it is, but they said no, because we have to submit our impact assessment report. And they did get some consultants without going to the grassroots. They presented the budget, they did whatever. So there'll be some hogwash also over here. There are, all types of things we can see over here, but definitely if Nirmala Niketan can take up the trained people, you will supply very good impact assessors to the corporate.
Thank you so much. And with that, our session ends. It was such a wonderful, insightful conversation. I'm sure the participants, including me, I'm so grateful for this session. We've learned so much from such insightful thoughts, presentations, forward-thinking approaches. So over to you, Kaushik, to give your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Amrit ma'am. And thank you all the panelists. It was really a wonderful session. I myself am pursuing CSR from Nirmala Niketan, and I could feel, all like I have maxed out my knowledge and information base right now. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And moving on to our next session, which is thinking beyond mandatory CSR, a global perspective. I would like to hand over it to Ajay Damodar. Ajay?
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you so much, Kaushik. It was really a wonderful discussion so far. We all the students and all the alumni are getting wonderful insights. CSR is a very broader concept and which is being practiced and implemented through various corporates around the world. CSR has its presence in other countries and developing countries the way beyond various decades. Yes, there are some, but it's not mandatory in as a CSR as an act in any country as such. Yes, there are some rules and policies on which tells the corporates how to govern your companies and environment sustainability, etc. As Mr. Alex mentioned, as our guest speaker mentioned, Dr. Prashant rightly mentioned. So, well, after the act coming into the force, there are many debates around it basically, and whether it should be compulsory, whether it should not be compulsory. Punishments are very crucial. The corporates are getting threatened, etc. As one of the speaker rightly mentioned, there are corporates and there are companies which were doing social good beyond their capacity also, and before the law came into the exist, like we have Tatas, Birlas, and Godrej, ONGCs, etc. So that's the question, like why, if there were companies were doing good, then why we need CSR act as such. Basically, the CSR should be the core objectives of the corporates, and it should not be the just activity based and social giving. The central part of the business and value system, business ethics, unlike implementing the pet project, as Dr. Meena mentioned rightly. Basically, the society and businesses are not two separate and isolated systems. Even the board and companies and the shareholders are also very integrated into one another. So corporate needs society to consume its products and generate revenues, whereas the society need corporates to get jobs and products, services, and tax to be paid to the government. So on a very positive note, let's say we have CSR as a mandatory law. By talking and discussing about it, we are making small efforts to make constant improvement in our approach. But there is a long way to go. We can do a lot more than that. We must not get caught into the mere formalities and mere mandate of spending 2% profit. We talk about environment sustainability and socio-economic sustainability basically, but definitely we need to think beyond the mandatory CSR, and it should not be just limited to corporate sector, I personally believe. Dr. Prashant rightly mentioned, and Dr. Meena, Alex also mentioned, we need to go beyond the mandatory things, and we need to co-create social values. I came across, while I was reading a few articles, I came across the terms like human social responsibility and political social responsibilities. We are yet to go there. So we should strive to co-create inclusive societies rather than keeping societies at the receiving end. The entire human rights approach, the value-based approach, and bottoms-up approach, people-centric designs are missing in various cases of CSR activities. So let's have a view of another expert and prominent scholar on board we have. So let's have Mr. Dr. Mahesh. Hello.
Yes, Ajay, I'm there.
Yeah, yes. Let's have Dr. Mahesh sir on board, and let's hear from him. Dr. Thakur is a veteran trainer and advisor in the field of social work, HR, NGO management, and CSR, with experience with over 21 years in teaching and consulting. Advisor of creative people, startup of hearing impaired youth. He is currently employed with Curve Institute of Social Sciences as in charge of Director, Faculty, Social Work, Human Resource Management, and CSR. also as the Honorable Director of the Center of CSR, Center of Mental Health and Disability. Recently, he became the first founder chairman of the NGO Studies and CSR Board of Savitribai Phule University, Pune. Last 3 years, he is a member of the Disability Board. He is on Ethical Committee on National Institute of Neuropathy. He is dexterous developing implementation, monitoring, evaluation, CSR-based research project, and has, to his credits, accomplished over 70 projects of the corporate houses pan Maharashtra and also in Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. He is the CSR advisor for more than 15 corporates. In the span of last 2 years, he has adopted astonishing number of 60 villages from Thane, Beed, Raigad, Pune district, and holistic village development project supported by Mazgaon Docks Shipbuilders Limited, Sudarshan Chemical Limited, SLK Global Solutions, PNG Jewelers, and BMC Software Limited. The villages are adopted by Dr. Thakur are from tribal areas. He has worked from the livelihood of the tribal communities. An acclaimed educationist, Dr. Thakur was the pioneer in initiating the PG Diploma in CSR autonomous course in India for the first time. He was on doctoral advisory committee of TISS for CSR subject. His mission is to promote CSR excellence for social development and edify corporate on CSR dimensions. In the year of 2014, he has been honored with the Excellence Award of CSR Education from Indo Global Chamber of Commerce, Industries and Agriculture. Dr. Thakur has awarded as the Kasturi Development Professional by Tata Chemical Limited. Dr. Thakur is also a certified trainer of Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs and for past 2 years has been associated with IICA under Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Corporate Affairs Government of India. An esteemed research scholar, Dr. Thakur holds a PhD in social work. He has published 2 books in NGO and CSR. His research papers have been published in many reputed national and international journals. He has published books. Also, he invited several coveted government, national and international corporates forum as a panelist speaker. He has been invited as a honorable keynote speaker in Kiwi International University of Japan to share his thoughts on global and Indian CSR. Thank you, Dr. Thakur, to accepting this invitation and being present here. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, Ajay. Thank you very much. And it is a great pleasure for me to be here. Sorry if I get disturbed in because I'm out of station. I'm in Delhi in an interior place. Again, come for a project. So maybe it's now the generator is on, so it will be some light issues is there. So though it is in Delhi, but then again towards Uttarakhand, I'm traveling there. So again, it's a very good evening that people have really spoke well about the things they have shared, and it's a very impressive agenda which the Conclave has taken. So congratulations, Dr. Ronald and the Lilvin Dias, because this is something which definitely taken up. And I'm really happy that to see the Social Welfare Commissioner is there on the board. A very interesting academician and also want to be there on the government. So I think that is required to be into the partnership. That is more it is required because sometimes I've seen that government officers and executives, sometimes they take it differently. They have only thinks about, okay, you have a 2%, how can you give it to us and then we can do something different. And that's the approach is same. But Center for Excellence, Center for Development, and some of the courses taken by these people, really well. I have to share my screen. I also got the things in my hand and I will show you because the time is less. So I will just showing you the things in front of you. Can you see this? Share the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So let's see about what it's about. It's like, it's an honor to see this particular conditions, but when I see the CSR, I have always taken into considerations. There are certain kind of the 5 dimensions which I have taken into into my station. When I heard about all the people on panelists, Meena Galeria, nice to see you, ma'am, because after so long, because they are the first people who were IICA training in 2014-15. So it was really great to see you there. And so when we say that this is all development of system, any conditions is relationship. I don't know some of the people who are sitting there on this particular forum and on the Zoom, but I think now there's a relationship is built up, right? So now the relationship is built up, so I can share the resources and I can share your resources to me also. So it's combined together, we are sharing our resources. Definitely it will come responsibility. If somebody asks me, some of the students of your institute or some of the persons want something to be from my areas or some expert components they want from my side, I have to share that. And the same time, if I want something to do in Bombay or in something in Palghar, definitely I have to share with that. So responsibility comes both the sides. Now, at the end of the year, not as a financial year of March ending, but at least we can think about, okay, whatever I've shared with you as a responsibility, and I've asked you some responsibility given to you, I can understand what reporting has come from you. What exactly has happened? Is it real ones or something which is not come to me? If it is not coming from my side, it is not coming from your side, I have to redesign what is going wrong in my relationship. So same thing, I also want to tell in all the corporates. People confuse with resource and relationship. I said resources comes later. First it comes relationship. When the relationship comes, then the resources will access to you. And it is your moral responsibility to address that resources in proper manner. If it is not, people are going to ask questions to you that you are not done proper things. It will come by the report, and that report either you find it or the outside people will put about in front of you. And then you say, okay, this is something going wrong or right. That is how it is going to be one of the things which I just want to share with you. Yes, I also want to put up that, as Meena madam also said, about little critical things which I also shared, because we share the same kind of the portfolio and the discussions into the right. There is a confusion in our particular CSR group, because I presented my paper into Japan and China. It's always said that India is doing philanthropical work, and what we do, it is something which is more we think about. They are doing, it's all their responsibility, and it is under the rule, under ethics, under legal matter. But when something which I want to do in India, if I do something in a business linked CSR, they said, oh, it is not CSR, because what you're doing something which is not it's not good for the community. Say, for example, recently I have given a project to LG. Now, LG is an electronic company. The company gives all these particular equipments working on the electricity. And I can feel that in the villages like close to Delhi also, they have no electricity. Why the electricity is not there? That's because of there's a kind of the less electricity that we generate. Now, when I say LG, what that is everything, whatever places. Now the question comes, where from the electricity comes? Since I've done my Kaizen, I've said either it is come from the naphtha to be burned, it can be come from the coal, and I've seen that the coal is not there, so there is no electricity in this place. I've discussed with the people. So I said, why not? It's the responsibility of the people living in Pune, Mumbai, or in Delhi. Just switch off the button. When they do not require a light, they just switch off the button. Now, it is more sustainable CSR for LG, because I said that it is not that me or an individual who are already crossed 40s, but if you go to the students of the institute, in the colleges, and into the schools of private, if they go there and tell them what exactly the energy comes from. So when I just take a program and I will tell them that, you just switch off, and it's very easy to impact assessment also. The electricity bill, how much of unit that you have come for last month, before that month, and once I've started putting switch off the buttons, I've just calculated if I given them a 1 crore project, I can save 1 crore units. It multiplied by 4.35 or 55, whatever the per unit. That means a 5 crore CSR, which I'm giving in them returns. At the same time, 1 crore units of electricity I am saving. And this particular kind of the sustainable sort of the nurturing this particular children's, they will do a longer perspective. Now people will say it is a business thing. I said, how come? It is not, because I want the sustainability, because that villages required electricity, because that particular farmers, that individuals, they don't have any electricity. And such kind of the activities goes in terms of a project, which I already given. So there is no need to like the project has how to design it and develop. I've already done with that. And I'm also speaking to the Minister of the Energy of Maharashtra. Let's see how it is going to work. So that is one area. In all the world, 93% CEO said that yes, sustainability is the key of success. But again, there's a lot of things has to be reached to the CEOs also. And they also believe that CSR projects will increase employee commitment, customer satisfaction, reduce risk, and whatnot. And at the same time, the finance will come to them. The CSR budget is also going to be there. Another thing is happening since after 2013. It's again, I'm not saying that this is wrong has happened, but the kind of CSR rule is promoted and marketed in a different way. It has marketed is that it is going to give you money. It will come 26,000 crore in a year. It will be some project. It will comes into the consultancies and whatnot. Employment, everything has come into that particular line. So people have not taken in that spirit. I'll give you a good example. Any person who's going to be purchasing a laptop for his child, if you go to any particular shop, the particular salesman or a person who's a marketing guy who tells that boy, this particular laptop is good for gaming. You can see the movies on it. You can see the different videos on this. That particular laptop, he never sees that or never said to that boy, this is for your educational purpose. You can have a different sort of connections where you can make a presentations, PowerPoint or designing or an AutoCAD or whatnot. And the child is interesting. He said, oh, it is got for gaming. Same thing has happened with our CSR also. And I agree with that. It has also developed some systems, processes, social problems discussed in board. Earlier, the board has never get into the chance to understand what are the social problems. But now the discussing on the board, that is more important. The independent director, Meena Madam has already said, the independent director who has given importance to looking into that way at the same time reporting. So the question is like of a mandatory is required, because I know I'm from the faculty and from the university, I can say that 70% attendance is compulsory. Why? Because that particular student, he may not be understanding that. Usko lagta hai ki he can be just go to the Google, go to the YouTube, and he will understand everything. If I give him a good class, like today's conclave, if the student attended, definitely they will have a good learning and they're going to take it. For that reason, they require to have a patience to be there. And that's why we require to keep it mandatory. That is more important. Generally, what happened, this all happened with over enthusiasm. So many toilets got constructed, but it is used. That is another question comes. So when I ask about sustainability, if you ask the project is happened in 2013 till date, you will see the number of projects is gone down, but not in terms of the construction activity, but in terms of very systematic project activities going on. And you see the budget. See, already Meena Madam has discussed over 10,000 to 24,000 crores. So it means that it's a kind of the slow discussions and slowly the growth has gone up to almost in 7 years of the time. I said the CSR is not only about money. That is my job to tell you that. From the corporate, you don't just ask for money. You ask for technology, management, systems, processes. Because again, we are from the NGO, we are from social work field. Definitely, we require this technology, Japanese management. We require Six Sigma. We require the different techniques and the tools and the intellectuals which we can bring into our projects. That is more important, which Priya says about also that. talking about sustainability. Many people have a confusion about this. I can believe that. People say that sustainability is like we engage the external stakeholders in a sustainable manner. We do the systems in a very right manner. We have exit plan. You tell me, I have almost 7-8 years. I'm doing the projects. I always tell the corporate it is not that easy to get an exit plan. It is not a Dawn movie where you can say that we already made an exit plan. It is a project where you have to build the particular commitment even to the peoples also. So sometimes I've seen the statement, our aim is to make the village self-sufficient. It is not that easy. We can say that, but it's not that easy. We build sustainable partnership with communities, not that easy. With our sustainable engagement, we want to provide livelihoods for the villages. In some part of mind, in some conditions, I will tell you that one reason. Prashant Saab has said about the quilt. In Shahapur, you know, the Dilima Mishra from the Dhule, she started a quilt project, which also we have taken the copy down into the Shahapur from Rikron. I'm not going for any recycling, but Rikron and the other project which we are done with, it also reaches to USA. But due to COVID, now I have to see that how I can manage the rent of that particular place also. So I approached the company also. Sanitary napkins, similarly, it is going to be got there. So slowly, we need to understand that sustainability has to be built in a certain manner, and we have done that. One of the good projects which I want to share with you, Sudarshan Chemicals, where we are given the particular skilling, a tribal youth to a banjo, to a band. Now, you know that Haldi is one of the cultural activities is happening in Konkan region. Almost 50 to 60,000 they earn per month. Now, what it is, again, I have not gone into the different scaling to it, but what is the requirement of that area, we can take it up. That is the more line with. So sustainability is, I have just to show you this particular screen to talk you about what is to be sustained and what is to be developed. We have an another side, like what Amrita Rai also said about, in 24 years of this particular period of time, the nature is to be sustained, the biodiversity and ecosystems, that to be sustained. And what is to be developed? It is to be child survival, life expectancy, education, equity, and equal opportunity. If you can see this in the left side, life support, ecosystem services, resources, environment. Where is to develop economy, the wealth, productive sectors, and consumptions. I'll give interesting examples to talk about some of the projects in the later part. Community, cultures, groups, and places. Whereas in the society, you see that institutions, social capital, states and religions. Now, ultimately, I have seen that because in Ranjangaon, Talegaon, or maybe you can go to the other part of the industries in Mumbai and other area, you will see most of the CSR projects happening in around. When the people go to the other sectors, people said mandatory. I said mandatory. Why? Aspirational district, Nandurbar. Who knows the Nandurbar? Which CEO has known the Nandurbar? Right? So government has put a danda and saying that go to aspirational district and do so CSR. I met the collector. We shifted to tribal commissioner at Pune, but Dr. Rajendra Bharu was the first tribal man who has become the IS, and is one of the collector at that particular district. Fantastic work is going on. Otherwise, we are very, very, what do you call it? The person say that, I don't want to go that area. Who's going to do a monitoring of it? Where is Mumbai? Where is Pune? Where is Nandurbar? 12 hours journey. Who's going to do that? But I have to make it a point here. It's very clear saying that for any districts which require to have sustainable kind of a growth or kind of a development, it requires some capital. And that capital investment has to happen. Agriculture. Now you've seen that in Maharashtra, the flood has happened. Ola Dushkal is all going to be talks about that. Earlier, the farmer is going to be because of this flood or either going to be a drought. Now, why not some of the CSR fund or the capital investment from the CSR budget can be done into the areas which I already submitted the proposal to BPCL. I'm going to work into the area of Jamkhed. For that reason, I'm saying that farmers to be given a stipend. It is not that easy just to give a skill. If we give them a stipend to that individual boy, at least his father will say, okay, mera ladka kuch kama raha hai, he's earning something. And by that time, I can train him so that he can be there and he can understand, yes, I can earn something from the farming also. Otherwise, it is very easy to get the child from Nanded, Usmanabad, Beat to Pune, Mumbai, give them a skill training of the turner, fitter, welder, and he's going to work in some company and then he lives in the community. And again, we are going to construct the flyovers. So I talks about the reverse migrations when not exactly going to happen reverse migration, because once the people comes in city, they never go back to their villages. But at least those are in the villages. I don't want them to come here. Okay, they come for any other purposes to visit to the malls and to the other places and everything. But definitely they have to be there to earn more on that line. That is my job, which I am thinking in terms of mandatory responsibilities to be taken care of. So the next point, which is going to be make you a more interesting things to say that any financial capital which to be sustained in that surplus income, savings, insurance, and asset. Then only the business will take place. It happens with investment in innovations, stable long-term shareholding, and risk here. If suppose I don't have a surplus income, how I'm going to start a business? If I don't have a savings, how I'm going to go for another kind of an activities for taking some initiatives? So that's why I require a financial capital as well. And for that, we need to think about sustainability perspectives as well. Natural capital. This is very important. If any business to be sustained, I have to take care of the fertile soil, ample water, biodiversity, fresh air, and animals. Frankly speaking, I given one project to Cummins India. You see that now your electric bikes, electric cars is coming in. Why it's happened? Because we have taken our bikes and whatever pollution that we done, the entire investment is shifted the plant to plant, has changed their lines. They would have spent the CSR money to create and some awareness on the people. One reason I give you project, which on the signal, you just switch off your engine. If any signal which is of 30 seconds, more than 30 seconds, switch off your engine. Many people said, no, sir, if you switch off the engine, you require more fuel. I said, who nonsense told you that? Nobody understands that. Nobody questions that reason. But the finding that I want to give you this, the CO emission, we as in social work colleges, we have innovated. I got only one paper that is published in US and we design our calculators. And then I am implementing that project with the companies which is providing the employee transport. So their buses, when they're on signal, they just switch off their engines. And then I'll calculate how much of diesel and fuel they saved, which converts into how much of the CO2 emission stops. I spoke to ARI, I spoke to the people who are there and into the, because it's also affected your health also as well. 60 is a minimum level of the kind of your pollution level, it goes to 120. So how it is going to be? So it's very easy to make it that particular. Now what has happened? The pollution level is gone high. Government simply said, we want to go for the Euro 4, Euro 6. Then you change your electricity, you change your vehicle conditions. I think if you are taken a right decision at the right time, you should not invest more. Water, animals. Now, I'm a Maharashtrian, the people used to say that don't eat a fish in the Shravan. Why? It's also simple. Because that fishing is the breeding time, that time, if you're going to take out the fish and all the time, because that's the only area where you have no contaminations of any food. People eating that in the Shravan. So that is another area. So continuous supply of raw material is lower cost of production, which also required to be sustained, and that is going to give you a development. Social capital, disciplined people, here harmonious relationship, equity. That also gets a license. I've seen that even we created awareness. You come to Hinjawadi, you will come to know what kind of a situation comes and occurs. I have IT professionals, but at the same time, I've seen the local gundas who was going to be creating a nuisance there also. So I have to see that how the addiction is also one of the issues to be addressed. So the skilled people can come into it and we can have a more organizations. Otherwise, the Pune industry is saying that I want to go to MP because I have getting a license there, I get more facilities. But what will happen in Pune because of small industries also coming up there? So that is one of the area which I want to highlight. Human capital, education, skill, health, and nature of people. Now here I want to tell you that education doesn't mean that I want to have an IITs only. Even I want a good farmers who know about good organic farming as well. I also want to see that that particular person have a skills to set down things. I always questions to the universities of agriculture universities. I said, what you do in terms of that development? What sort of skills that you're imparting to farmers, to their individuals? At the same time, whatever health is affecting towards the human, which also have to take care of. Because of COVID, you have seen that many people who are a talent is not there now. So we have to invest in that line again. The nature of people, I said to it from the beginning itself, it is not that difficult in the standard, below 10 standard. If you started teaching them CSR, then they will understand more. It's wise. Okay, good. We are doing diploma. I also started a diploma in CSR and master degree courses. We started it, but why not the particular, because nurturing has happened in the beginning. So why not it should be taken into it? So if somebody asks me, sir, can you give a session to a 10th standard student? I said, yes, I want to. I love to do that. Because there I will see some kind of an output will come. So that's one area. And physical capital, which I can see this is something we can talk about it. Another area which there are 1-2 points, and then we'll stop about the discussion which I have put down. The partnership. Because since I am a chairman of the board of the university, I want to give the professors of every university that to be taken care of the help. Here you will come to know. These people, the professionals, I am working with architect also. Plastic is the issue. What government has said, plastic should be banned. Aapne dekha plastic ban ho gaya? No. If you go in Mumbai also, you will find that still plastic is available. I've seen that in the villages, when you're going to construct a plinth, in that plinth, I can put all the plastics. I compress that plastic and then I put a plinth. So why not in the construction activity, all the plastic should be dumped. And when I put the flooring on that, nobody is saying that in this particular underground there is a plastic. Not required. I already worked with one of the COP engineer. I am taking one of the crushers for the concrete mixed plastic. So all your compounds, your dividers, your pavers in the company's parking areas, that should be inserted a plastic into it. So whatever plastic, we've seen this particular project in a one village, in a one plinth, we required a plastic and we put down a plastic. Second village, when we are constructing a second house, third house, when there's a fourth house to construct, there was no plastic available. So it means is that why can't we can think about a project? I said teachers and professionals. Every professor, either is from geography or pharmacy or a botany or a zoology, they have to take their students of master degree and design and develop an extension project. So that is my job, which I'm going to give them a refresher course to all the professors, which they can talk about. Even job universities, the society, where we need to talk about the sustainable projects to build. As I said, business leaders, board of directors, Meena Madam rightly said that it's very difficult when we tell them about projects and then they said, oh, no, we want to construct toilets. We want to have poor children to have the drinking water, aquaguard, purifier. I said, what nonsense. Simple medichlorium the medichlorium bottle, it also gives the value addition. Why you want to have the aquaguard, which also required to have the water? You have a proper different system than be designed. So there is one of the area. Better business understanding, as I said, what project I said to LG, that they have to see about in that line. Investments in terms of how we can invest in creating people. I've had real discussions with the one of the good guru of Amit Sachdeva, who has said to me that it's not only the company of 5 crore profit, even there are companies who are from the Shop Act, partnership firms, even they have to make compulsion on CSR, I'm telling you. Because even they also earns a huge profit, but it's not only about money, to give them that attitude so that they can invest really in that sense. That is more important. So small business partnership firms also want to be invested and to be given a training on CSR. That is my one of the note. And at the planet, definitely the resources which we have to look into that particular aspect. So these are some of the points which I said, and I'm very happy to see that the mandatory part has become a successful. Now we are not going to go back again. Many people say that no, it is not going to be taken responsibility. But now I said 24,000. You take my words. Maybe in a 1 year ahead, it will go to 30,000 crore as well, and that is why it is the requirement. So this is what I felt about it. So I really happy to see that for any sustainable development, need to nurture the people, either it is young, old, or whatever, some sort of the continuations of the work to be happening. And that is where I come from. Thank you very much, Ajay, and it's over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful insights. You covered a lot of different aspects of beyond mandatory CSR. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Priyanka to summarize and give her words. Ms. Priyanka. Yes, hello and welcome. Over to you. Summarize.
Yeah, I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It is a very fruit. Yeah, hello. Is it audible to you, everyone?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. It was a very fruitful afternoon, which we had a discussion about the CSR and the sustainable development.
Can't hear you, Priyanka.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I think there was some disturbance. That's the reason. So I'll just recap the whole session, which we talked about the CSR and the sustainable development. To begin with, the session began with the Dr. Anand, which were talking about the 3 angles of the sustainable development, which is economy, social, and the environment, and how these 3 angles are incorporated with the business approach and strategy approaches. So basically the sustainable development is achieving a goal by doing a CSR mandate or not. So the whole discussion we were talking about. Dr. Lidwin Dias also talked about how the CSR and how the government, policymaker, academics, and the students could be involved in the CSR activities and how that can be done as a sustainable development, which we will be looking into it. The session again moved forward with government role in the sustainable development, how we can actively participate in it, how the CSR partnership will take place, and how the 2013 mandate in India and the government law has made the mandate rules about in India about the CSR activities. So basically, Dr. Prashant Nanavre talked about how the CSR can get involved through the charity, to do the charity and to work with the government sectors. So it's all talked about how the CSRs were involved before the independence time and after the independence time, how it has developed. He further talked about how when he was as a collector in Osmanabad. I'm sorry if I missed out something. When he was authority over there, he was run some projects over there which was talking about CSR implementation. He was planning the projects. Just a minute. He gave us the insight how the project would be planned. The project needs to identify and resolve the issues of the society. The project should be planned properly. It should identify the funders. The CSR in plans of project needs to be impact analysis for the funding project. There should be a presentation on impact and the impact whatever is done to the funding agencies. Then further, he shared the example of Krishi Kranti, where he was done in the Tulzapur, how it took place, how they have involved the stakeholders in it. Again, he has shared the Palghar example, how Amrita Dongre Foundation has given us the how the women had empowered with that foundation. Then Godhari initiative, which had taken place, how they have tackled reduce the malnutrition and how the women empowerment had taken place. So these are the government roles and how the government was helping and working with the collaboration of CSR. Further, the CSR partnership where the Kaushik was saying about the long-term success of CSR is most important, where Dr. Amrita Rai said that 77% consumers are spending more if the organization is having a good CSR activity. Supporting to that, Ms. Meena Galeria had presented around saying that there are 1,001 billion came to CSR investment in 2014-15 and 19 to 1920, where it was been okay. So where it was been actually the environmental sustainability has been spent more amount, where because of the current Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, she gave us the insight about how the CSRs are seen in India, because they are mostly seen as the pet projects, maybe for the propaganda purpose, and it's for some kind of a philanthropy which they are supposed to do. So then she again came up with, if that needs to be sustained, then we need to come up with the shared value creation. It can be us, that could be a smart partnership. So she focused on the lots of insights about how we can make this sustainable partnership. Government partnership is required and all, how the systemized process needs to be followed. So it is going to a stakeholder, then we need to actively coordinate between that. The project needs to achieve its goal, and can initiative keep going further. She has again come up with the CSR 2.0 DNA module, which was, which was talking about the goal of economy, institutional effectiveness, stakeholder orientation, and sustainable ecosystem. So we need a partnership where the NGO leaders and CSR can come together and works towards the sustainable development. So that is how it should be. Then Alex also shared about the UK scenario, how the sustainable development took place. And based on that, Priya Satish also said how the CSR can involve and get involved their employees and bridge that gap between the internal partnership. So this is all about how the CSR can be come through. Then further, now Dr. Manish Thakur gave us the insight about what is CSR. So CSR is relationship, resources, responsibility, reporting, and redesigning. And CSR is just not about the money. CSR is all about how you can come together, work together, and how you can develop, how you can sustain the nature, life support, and community. And what we can achieve is we can achieve a development for the people, we can achieve a better economy, and we can achieve a better society out of it. So this is how I feel this conclave has come, and I really understand that the goal of it and the agenda of it to achieve what is the CSR and how we can do a sustainable development. So this conclave meets all its agenda and the requirements. Thank you so much. Over to Nilima about.
Thank you so much, Priyanka ma'am, for a beautiful summarization of the entire conclave. And now, without wasting much time, we are right on the time, I think. I would like to now invite Nilima ma'am to give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Priyanka. Yeah, it is now time to propose a vote of thanks. So good evening, one and all. We have reached the end of the conclave, and this has been a great occasion for the College of Social Work, Nilima-Niketan. We have successfully hosted the conclave on CSR and sustainable development. I feel it is indeed an achievement, as we have done it for the first time. Now it is my duty and true pleasure to thank everybody who are part of the conclave, those who were directly, indirectly involved, and those who participated in the conclave. Gratitude is an attitude of the heart. So our gratitude today comes from our heart. We are grateful for making this event a successful occasion. This was possible because of the strong support from the management of the Nilima-Niketan Institute. We want to express a deep sense of appreciation to our management for always being supportive, and also the encouragement and motivation of our principal, Dr. Lidwin Dias, for the approval to host this very first conclave on CSR. Ma'am, without your permission, it would have not been possible. Thank you so much. We are grateful to you. It has been a very enlightening conclave. We are extremely grateful to the advisory committee, which included Mr. Elvis Thomas, the former faculty member of the college, Ms. Sabina Gonsalves, the administrator of the college, Dr. Ronald Yesudas, one of the conveners and also the faculty member of the college, Mr. Joy Abraham, the director at Program Design, Monitoring and Evaluation, Habitat for Humanity India, and Ms. Amrit Rai from CSR and Partnership Feeding India, for the constant guidance, insights, encouragement, and for helping us identify and contact the speakers. I especially would like to thank Ms. Amrit Rai for her interest, wholehearted involvement, and for moderating the panel discussion, making it a very interactive and interesting one. Thank you so much, ma'am. Our heartfelt gratitude to the keynote speaker of today's conclave, Honorable Respected Dr. Prashant Narnavre sir, the Commissioner of Social Welfare Board, Pune, and the valedictorian, Dr. Mahesh Thakur, In-charge Director of Karve Institute of Social Service, Pune, for sharing good practices in sustainability and for the insights and experiences they have shared with us. Through your expertise, you helped us to understand the present dynamics in the CSR sector that are happening in India as well as in other countries. You have given us hope and ways to tackle these problems. Thank you so much. The conclave has also witnessed the eminent speakers, Dr. Meena Galeria, Mr. Alex Mays, Ms. Priya Satish. Thank you for your insightful views and the information shared on CSR and sustainable development, and also for discussing global trends and possibilities of addressing social and environment challenges. Your presentations were very interesting, as you are all very high reach experience of many years in the field of CSR and sustainable development. We are truly grateful to you for giving us the feel of reality in corporate sector. Next, I want to thank my colleagues and the staff of the Extension Center, Ms. Sylvia Chetia, Ms. Larissa Miranda, Ms. Swati Rane, Mr. Sandesh Lalge, and Mr. Shankar Suryavanshi, for willingly taking the responsibilities and working towards them, because of which everything went on smoothly today. This teamwork was instrumental for the successful conclave. Thank you for your assistance in handling the logistic, audiovisual, technical part, and publicity to reach out to people. A special thanks to Ms. Sylvia and Ms. Larissa for also being the rapporteurs of this conclave. We would like to thank our PGD CSR alumni members, Mr. Oswin, Lead CSR Communication and Employee Engagement at IndusInd Bank, Mr. Ajay, Project Manager, WASH Awareness Programs at Training and Development Department. Mr. Kaushik, Research Associate at United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and also our PGT CSR current batch students, Ms. Sakshi, VP Group Corporate Communication at Kotak Mahindra Bank, and Ms. Priyanka, Senior Executive at Tata Trust, for being our partners in hosting this conclave and also for anchoring the whole event. Let's take the opportunity to thank all our enthusiastic participants representing various organizations, CSR firms, institutions, government departments, our college formal and present faculty members, and alumni and present batch students. The conclave has attracted around 150 participants today, who have encouraged us and given us the tremendous confidence to continue such events to bring new practices in the field of CSR. We thank each one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and making this event more meaningful and effective through your questions, suggestions, and sharing. I'm very sorry if I have forgotten to mention anyone here, but we are truly grateful to all of you. At the end, I would especially like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Ronald Yesudas, who has been instrumental in putting together this conclave, making the people understand what the conclave was all about and making it a reality. It was great working as an extension team. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And we will end this conclave with the national anthem. So I ask my colleague, Mr. Sandesh.
Special thanks to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Special thanks to you, Nilima, for coordinating the whole event.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I will request all to please on your cameras so that we can have a group photograph. Yes, please. Great. Smile, please. Yes, we are clicking the photo. Please wait. Yeah, 1 second, please. Please hold on. Another group. Smile, please. One more group is there. Yes, smile, please.
Requesting everyone to put on their cameras, please.
Great. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to start with the national anthem. Playing the national anthem.
मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
We announce that we are ending with our conclave.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sandesh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.